This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Celiana Daya from Zodiark, Shin Frostfire of Fairy, Migoto Zetsume of Sargatanis. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. And by Alamo City Comic Con, October 28th through the 30th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in sunny San Antonio, Texas. Alamo City Comic Con celebrates the artists that entertain us through TV, movies, comics, gaming, and cosplay. For more info, including badge prices, celebrity guests, hotel accommodations, and more, visit AlamoCityComicCon.com.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Unhero.
You don't want to go to war with me.
Juxtaposition.
You gotta calm down or I'm gonna have to frag you.
Ascalia.
We are dealing with someone here who has absolutely no life.
And Nika.
And I am a gorgeous girl with big cans.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode number 71. Guys, we're excited to have you here live at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. We're live from Eorzea. Let's kick it over to our Eorzean studios. If you'd like to join us live on the show, you can be featured in our iCam at our home.
Can we call it the pervert cam?
It is kind of a pervy
cam.
It is kind of a pervy cam.
The upskirt cam?
The upskirt cam, yeah. If you'd like to join us, you can do that at, that's on the Sargatanis server. It's in the Goblet, Plot 30, the 5th Ward. Come hang out with us. Say hi.
We're in the basement.
Wave at the camera. Yeah, there's doors now down to the basement, just so you know.
We were getting complaints that we were too loud, so we had to install sound barriers.
We get complaints? It's our FC.
Right?
Well, people sleep up there.
So what?
I think if you join the Limit Break Radio FC, you should kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there was going to be riots, okay? We had, like, you know, our what's it called? Complaint box? Complaint box?
We have one of those?
Well, yeah, the trash can.
Oh, okay.
I was having to throw it out like 50 times a day, so
I see.
I had to do something.
You take out the trash? That's you?
Sometimes.
I can't believe you do anything around here.
You'd be surprised.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We are excited to have you here. Of course, if this is your first time joining us live on the program, we invite you to hit that follow button, as well as join us over at limitbreakradio.com and subscribe over there. Maybe leave us a little bit of iTunes love. It helps.
Or hate.
Or hate, yeah, whatever you want. I mean, we ask for genuine reviews of the show. So, drop by iTunes, drop by our feed on iTunes, and let us know what you think of the program. Also, we are sponsored by Alamo City Comic Con. That is October 28th through the 30th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in sunny San Antonio, Texas. Recently announced for Alamo City Comic Con, we've got A.J. McLean, former Backstreet Boy, and star of Sci-Fi's Dead 7 is going to be there.
Nika's like, oh my god, my 90s crush.
No.
As well as a whole bunch of cast members from Sci-Fi's new series Z Nation, including the actress who plays Cassandra, Nat Zhang, who plays 10,000, Russell Hodgkinson, who plays Doc and was also in the movie Big Fish,
I love that movie.
Anastasia Baranova, who plays Addie, Emilio Rivera, who plays Scorpion, and Keith Allen, who plays Murphy. Again, head on over to Alamo City Comic Con if you want details. That's October 28th through the 30th down in San Antonio, Texas. We're also going to be there and we're going to be on hand. I hope you'll come and say hi if you're in the area. And if you're going to, I mean, they've announced some really impressive guests like David Tennant. David Tennant, as well as Billy Piper, Karen Gillan. I mean, just some huge names in the world of Doctor Who, as well as let's see, who else? River Tam,
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams is going to be there. I want to drink a Colt 45 with Billy D. Williams.
I want to hug Lando.
Awesome.
Yeah. I also kind of want to smoke weed with him too. I don't know if he's down like that. That's. I mean, I imagine.
I think so.
I would assume that he is, but like when you're retired at some point, it's like, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
You know. So, I'd love to share a joint with Billy D. Williams. That would be great. Yeah, that's right.
It's certainly going to be.
So anyway, more details can be found at Alamo City Comic Con. Also, Final Symphony, we want to thank them for providing us some tickets to give away, and we want to congratulate our winners on that. Final Symphony is happening Wednesday, July 27th in San Francisco. The San Francisco Symphony will share the stage with famous video game composer Nobuo Uematsu at the Davies Symphony Hall in San Francisco, performing music from Final Fantasies 6, 7, and 10. If you missed it 2 episodes ago, we talked to conductor Eckhard Stier about the project. Well, you can find samples of the album as well as performances over at spielemusicconcert.de, or just the simpler route is to Google Final Symphony. You can also find tickets for the San Francisco performance at sfsymphony.org. There's 2 other North American dates, including July 21st at 8 p.m. at the Copley Symphony Hall that's with the San Diego Symphony Orchestra, as well as July 23rd at 7:30 p.m. at the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra.
I'll be at that one.
Did you get tickets?
I did.
I am so jealous, Nika. This is. Have you seen any of specifically the Final Symphony performances? They're amazing.
No. I'm excited.
You really. I don't know if I should tell you to go watch a video of it or not, because just knowing that you're going to experience it, you've also been to Distant Worlds in the past. So you kind of know like what the whole symphonic Final Fantasy music is. I put this in such a different category from what Distant Worlds does. I almost kind of want you to go in blind so that like you get more of the in the moment experience of it.
I think I will, because also the day before is my birthday, so this is kind of like my birthday present.
Ooh,
so
that's very cool. Well,
I think I'll just wait.
I'm super jelly, Nika, because I would have loved to go to any of these.
Nika, your birthday's the 22nd?
Yeah.
Mine's the 21st. How do I always forget we're a day apart?
I think we discuss this every year.
I think so.
Yeah.
I always forget.
Look at that.
Aging Dr. Boy, Dr. Birthday Boy.
By the way, I also want to remind you that July 27th, the San Francisco performance is going to be accompanied by a speech, a symposium by Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of the Final Fantasy video game franchise. That starts at 7:30 p.m. So if you want tickets, sfsymphony.org. Today we're going to be talking about lore and story, the 3.3 story. So spoiler alert, if you have not completed 3.3 and you don't want to be spoiled,
what have you been doing?
Yeah, what's wrong?
I know, seriously. Like, have you not had enough time? Like, what's going on there?
The moratorium is lifted at last.
Yes, we are going to lift our ban on spoilers, and we're going to discuss today lore and the 3.3 story, and we've got a special guest joining us today. Ethys Asher is going to help us navigate through that, so we're excited to have him on the program. But first, before we get into that discussion, we better check out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a limit-breaking news update.
All right, a little tidbit of news. We've got patch 3.35 is dropping on July 19th, guys. Oh my God! It is about goddamn time. 9 days from now is when Deep Dungeon will be out. Very exciting. We got a bit of, a preview of Deep Dungeon where really all we got is an additional screenshot. But there you can see the UI that's been designed for Deep Dungeon, and also we get confirmation that it will be dropping on July 19th. God,
a week from Tuesday. 9 days to go.
So we've also, if you entered the Heavensward Primal Haiku Contest, the winners have been announced. So I want to read the grand prize winner here. 1 God King, 12 Knights, bring forth the ultimate end. Thoradin's reign begins. And that was the winner. I mean, there's 3 winners.
575, right?
Yeah. Whiz, bang, valves, hiss, crack. Our work undone. Time goes back. Recommence attack. And that was another winner. And our third winner, Swords of Arching Might. Butterflies rise, red moonlight. Honor bound to fight. So the first one came from Esmerud Dimandus.
Man, that name's a haiku.
From Cactar. Mizluet. Zirmand. I don't know. From Balmung. God.
Balmung.
Yeah. And Lisi Lumia from Ultros are the winners for that contest. Congratulations.
They're not supposed to rhyme, are they?
No, haikus don't rhyme.
They don't have to.
And these are all
I
about
think they
primals.
can rhyme, right?
They can, yeah.
That's
they don't.
against the law.
The
they don't
Alexander
have
one
to.
rhymes.
Yeah, they don't have to.
No, we have to shoot them now.
The first season of The Feast is going to be wrapping up Tuesday, July 19th. So the same day that we get Deep Dungeon, we will be wrapping up, marking the end of the first season of The Feast.
Now, does season 2 start right now, or does it wait till the next patch to start?
I don't know. I also don't know why it matters, to be honest, either. I mean, that's how unplugged.
That sweet glam.
That's how unplugged I am from PvP. Well, that is the next time that they will insert like another round of glamour for that, right? Is season 2? Like, don't you get is there new armor that's coming with season 2?
I don't know if they ever said.
You're kind of presuming that.
I mean, what else would be the incentive? Just to continue to be ranked? I don't think that there's that many people plugged into it.
Well, the people
or if it's the same armor, then the 3 people who dominated this time can just,
maybe,
hold back and let 3 other people win.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I guess.
I would assume there's going to be a short off season and then season 2 will pick up.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, also, if you ever wanted lyrics for the Sephiroth battle, you can find those over at the Lodestone. Not sure really why you would, but I guess
they always post the lyrics for
them. They do, and they're pretty, like sometimes they have some good lore attached to them, but I don't know. If you really want to read them, I'm not going to read them to you, but if you really want to read them, they're over
will
at the
Will you sing
Lodestone.
them to us?
No, I will not sing them to you.
Hashtag sing them, Nero.
Hashtag serenade me a Nero.
I am not.
Whenever I think of Sephiroth's theme, for some reason, Jack's theme pops in my head. It's not the same, but that's the lyric. Oh, no. Like that just pops in my head for whatever reason.
Hashtag serenade me Nika.
You're welcome.
So anyway, that takes care of all of our FF14 news. That's about it. I mean,
I heard Deep Dungeon in 9 days.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
Deep Dungeon in 9 days. That is pretty much the most important thing out of that list. Right
Yeah. Most important thing out of 3 whole patch cycles.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of depressing to say, but whatever. It's true. So all right. And one more thing before we get into hanging out with Ethys Asher here. Every once in a while, we like to on this show do some we like to read some shit posts, some official forum shit posts. And
Yeah.
I have to say that this one is a pretty good one.
So dumb.
Samus, I have to shout out Samus for this one.
He wrote it.
He brought it to our attention. So this is from what is this? Soj01 from the forums.
It's a GUI night.
No.
Oh.
Just call out their character, Wyra Amario from Fairy.
There you go.
Oh, it's a fairy person. Okay.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Please fix visible undergarments problem.
Oh, no.
I would love to be able to have my character run around in the undyed Makote loincloth skirt and other similar leg wear, but the constant flashing of the undergarments when moving around and creepers possibly attempting to look up it make me feel uncomfortable to even try to glamour it. If possible, could you please give us a function to block out undergarments for skirts and dresses? Thank you.
Yeah, so let's just have no underwear.
Hashtag protect realistic skirts.
So they're asking for like no underwear, right?
So
Is that what they're
they'd
saying?
rather be naked? I don't understand.
Asking for an undergarment concealment function in the game isn't asking for much and should be added. I always switch to pants because this lack of a setting that should have been put into the game from the start for those who want to wear skirts and whatnot, but not worry about constant underwear exposure.
Oh, wait, she doesn't want to see her underwear?
Yeah.
This is a troll, right?
Come on.
No. If this is a troll, it's a brilliant troll. It's so hilarious.
So she doesn't want to show her underwear out to the world?
I guess not.
I'm just confused what she expects there to be instead. Like just like a black hole or just nakedness? Like I don't understand.
A black sensor bar. That's what we want. We want black sensor bars.
Shameful.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the request is.
I think they want like shorts.
But a lot of skirts actually do have shorts in it.
Right?
But she wants the ones on that one specifically.
No. I actually, I've actually turned the corner. I think that this is a great idea. I think that I think that we totally should remove undergarments, but that also all character models should be explicitly modeled. We should all have very graphic genitals.
Yeah, okay, Belmung.
This is ridiculous.
Right?
That is...
It's ridiculous.
No, I like the first person's response, actually. They said, if you feel uncomfortable, don't wear it. Apply your real-life clothing behaviors to your character, and all should be fine.
Seriously.
Like, for real.
Oh, what epic shit posting.
That's amazing. Like, have you tried wearing a mini skirt in real life? That's what happens.
Actually, you know what? I feel like I'm going to make a post ask them to fix the undergarments problem where when you're wearing this garment, the skirt covers the undergarment and then I can't see it as well. So Square Enix, please remove all skirts from the game.
No, I
only have underwear.
I want a sensor bar minion. That's what I want. I want to be able to,
you can just place
it.
Him.
Yes, exactly.
You do the slash beckon and he just covers your crotch.
So stupid. Oh my god.
That's
that would be funny, like how the little ones sit on your shoulder, you beckon to the sensor bar and it just stays in front of you.
Exactly.
It is posts like that makes the official forums worth it.
Yeah, every once in a while you catch a gem. You catch a good one. Anyway, all right.
Maybe they just want skirts. We bring back the skort.
No, skirts are the devil's work.
Okay. Well, I don't have any opinion there, but sure.
Hashtag where's the parachute pants?
There should definitely be parachute pants in the game.
Give it time.
Oh. Okay, all right. So let's talk about the 3.3 story. Guys, we have been waiting for a long time to talk about this. We've had an embargo. Our normal embargo on discussing story has actually been longer because Nika decided to go to Japan for 2 weeks. By the way, Nika, how was Japan?
Awesome.
Yeah, I hear that you went to the Eorzea Cafe.
I did.
Did they make you wear a mini skirt?
No.
That's not very realistic. That doesn't sound like FF14 at all.
Actually, wait a minute. Hang on. Can we go back and actually can we do that? Can we force shorts under skirts, but just for Rogadins? Only for Rogadins.
What the hell? Well, Rogadins are beautiful.
Actually, Rogadins are not allowed to wear skirts at all.
So okay, but how was the Eorzea Cafe?
It was really cool, the actual experience of being in there. I do complain that for being such a high tourist spot, they don't have an English menu, and everything on the menu is very difficult to figure out what it is.
Oh my gosh!
Expensive was it?
Hashtag entitled tourist.
Picky eater. Jeez.
No, it was more like a lot of it was probably in Japan. Most things are probably fish. That's like the straight answer, and I don't really like fish, so it was really difficult to figure out what was not fish and what was fish.
Yeah.
And the thing is that what I could actually read, like all the things were named after characters, so everything I could read was just like characters' names and stuff. Like,
did
this is
your
not
server
helping me.
speak English?
No, and then like they forgot, and then because I ended up winning like the big giant Moogle dessert thing, they forgot to bring me my main dish, and so I was like sitting there trying to tell them like in my limited Japanese that you forgot to bring me my food, and so they actually had to bring out like a manager from the back who did speak some English.
Oh my god!
Wait, you won a giant Moogle dessert. What is that?
It was like, I don't know, like apparently when you walk in you get a raffle Cactbot ticket, and they like draw, I don't know, they like draw it out or whatever, because like a certain amount of people go at a certain time, and I won this big giant, like I think they called it like a toast dessert. I put a picture of it on the LBR page during that time.
All the people sitting there like, oh, fucking tourist one, of course.
But the thing is I feel like so many tourists go to this place, and like it was just kind of strange that literally nobody could speak a word of English to me, but whatever. But then it was like a giant thing of like bread toast with like whipped cream and raspberries, and then the other side was like a bunch of dumplings on a spike with like a cookie thing and ice cream in the shape of a Moogle's head.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
it was good, but we could not finish. I mean, it was huge. It was like, I don't know, it was like 2 feet tall.
Jeez.
It was stupidly
They're like,
huge.
oh god, it's an American. Bring out the biggest dessert we got.
Well, there you go.
And for those people saying they have an English menu, I actually asked them in Japanese if they have an English menu, and they told me no, we don't. So
They're like, yeah,
Not for the gauging.
Anyway, it was really fun though. Like all the scenery and stuff was really, really cool. I actually logged in the game from the studio, and I think only Tanya was online in the link shell and said hi to me. But it was really cool.
Awesome. All right. So now that we have Nika back, we can talk about the 3.3 story. And to join us to talk about this, I think we have to say his name 3 times for him to appear. I think that's the rule.
That's
right?
how we summon our lore correspondent?
I think that is.
Biggie Smalls.
Right?
Yeah, that's how we did it before.
Yeah, that's right. So let's
Biggie
see.
Smalls.
Let's
Biggie
see.
Smalls. Biggie Smalls.
What?
If you say it 3 times, he shows up and busts a cap in your ass.
That definitely didn't happen.
We're in Eorzea, so that person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
he does. He's just a Lalafell.
so Ethys Asher is Ethys Asher with us.
Oh my god, bringing back the 2015 bits.
Hey!
A little bit of old bit theater today.
That's right, yeah.
Jesus Christ, how are we, guys?
We never forget. Hey, what's up, Ethys?
We're not
How
too
you doing?
proud for this, okay?
That's right. Ethys Asher
open
joining us
question.
today to talk about some 3.3 story and lore discussion. Happy to have you on. And again, everyone, if you haven't already, I'm assuming that everyone who listens to the show already has, but if you haven't, make sure you go check out Ethys at his YouTube page, youtube.com/Ethys Asher, where you can subscribe to his videos, where he puts out some of the most comprehensive, the most thought-provoking, and some of the most insightful lore videos for FF14 anywhere on the internet. You can all find those over at youtube.com/Ethys Asher. So,
I love you.
Let's talk.
Wow.
Let's talk.
That's quite a sell.
All right, so now that we hyped you up, don't fuck up.
Yeah. So, let's talk about some 3.3 story. This was the end of the Dragon Song War.
And what a long war it was.
1,000 years, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
3
but
patches.
It was also, yes, it was
3
also
patches.
It was also a very long patch cycle. The final part, the final leg of the 3.3 story starts us off in Sorkai. So Sorkai is the former home of Ratatoskr, and has
Rattata?
Rattata Tosca, yeah.
Has been kind of created to be a kind of gauntlet of trials for you to face before Racevalgar will lend his power to you against Nidhogg. So what's interesting, though, is that each one of the worms, each one of the dragons, has its own area that it sets up and where its brood sort of lives. And ostensibly, this was the home of Ratatoskr. So is there any kind of context clues that we're able to pull out of Sorkai that give us any... that tell us anything about Ratatoskr? Because we actually don't know that much about her outside of her being killed.
No, we have some vague ideas of her appearance from concept art and from there's a couple of reliefs in Sorkai itself representing Ratatoskr. Now, Sorkai, when Ratatoskr was living there, I'm assuming it was not actually named Sorkai. Sorkai means sad apology. It's Racevalgar's way of apologizing for being unable to prevent her death, of being too trusting, being able to, not see that it was sort of inevitable or inexorable that the Elezen were going to turn on them. So Sorkai currently looks very, very different to what it would have looked like when Ratatoskr resided there. If you want a clearer idea of what Ratatoskr's brood sort of lived in, those kinds of conditions, when we are doing the Moogle quest in the Churning Mists, Thal Kash, where the Dark Scale Fate is, where there's all those exploded crystals and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently we find a lot of evidence around there for this extinct brood of dragons. So it seems like that's where a lot of Ratatoskr's brood was living, where Sorkai was more her roost, where she sort of raised her children, so to speak.
That's interesting, because we explored a theory at one point talking about wherever we see these crystals is where dragons had died.
Or not necessarily a drag, but one of these celestial drag, one of the children of Midgardsormr.
Well, when you see a good deal of corrupted ether like that, and I mean, we saw it as a result of the calamity, obviously, and as a result of the Battle of Silver Tear Skies, we know that there's this sort of massive explosion of ether. And you're quite right that one of the things that is going to produce that sort of thing would be the death of a great worm. And I think it's fairly sound and fairly safe to assume at the moment that Thal Umkash was actually the death place of Ratatoskr.
So, and something that was never really made clear to me was, what happened to both of Ratatoskr's eyes? Because one of them was accounted for in Thoradin, right? Like Thoradin after... No. Okay. All right. Correct me here.
They've got... So what happened, right, is when they killed Ratatoskr, they ate her eyes. The 12 knights cut it up and they ate it, and they thought that it was going to give them sort of divine powers or whatever.
Right.
Then Nidhogg comes along. They take both of his eyes. One of them is buried with the original King Thoradin, and the other is given to Haldroth, who becomes the first Azure Dragoon.
Okay, all right. So there we've got that actually clarifies that all together. So let's before we move on to Nidhogg and Estinian and the actual conclusion of the Dragon Song War, kind of want to deviate because even still through 3.33, there are unaccounted celestial or great dragons. There are still two names. Yeah. There are still at least two names that we don't know, right?
There are, I believe there are exactly two names that we don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Because we've got let's think this through. We've got Nidhogg, Racevalgar, Ratatoskr, Bahamut, Tiamat. That's 5. So there's got to be 2 more. And with all this talk of a mega weapon, the natural one, and I'll be very surprised if we don't see him, is Shinryu.
Yes, I think that Shinryu will probably play a part in this. One of the things that I thought would have been a nice touch and a nice throwback to FF11 during the Nidhogg fight would have been in the third phase to have Nidhogg's name changed to Fafnir, which I thought would have been really cool. But then it kind of occurred to me, okay, yeah, you're right. We do have these two names that are unaccounted for. So we don't.
And I'm expecting Fafnir to be a real possibility for one of those.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Fafnir, and then Ascalia, you had mentioned Vertra as well.
Vertra and Jormungand. Well, they already used Jormungand.
No, they did use Jormungand.
Not yet.
Yeah, they used Jormungand for trash, but yeah, Vertra.
And Jormungand is a synonym for Midgard's honor anyway.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about Nidhogg. Let's talk about the battle against Nidhogg. So this was, first of all, a really well-designed fight visually.
Super awesome.
Yeah,
spectacular.
First phase, you're fighting against the dragon. Second phase, you're fighting against sort of like this hybridized version. It was very reminiscent of the form that Nail von Darnus takes in
and it's a very similar thing.
So what's going on there, do you think, Ethys? Is that the power of Aether in general? Like, is that some specific transformation? What do you think is going on there?
It's kind of difficult to say because, Nidhogg at this point, his body is destroyed. Nidhogg is technically dead. What we've got is his soul has remained intact and his soul is possessed the body of Estinian. And caused these sort of mutations and stuff like that.
Which you could make, couldn't you make that same argument that Nail was technically tempered by...
Nail was tempered.
Yeah.
What happened with Nail, right, is that he died and then he was tempered.
Right.
And as his ether was sort of dissipating, as it happens when you die, Bahamut's kind of looked over it and seen Nail and been like, oh, no, I'm not done with that. And he's kind of grabbed all of this ether as it's like pulling apart. This guy's, dying and his corpse is evaporating and he's like shoved as much of it back together as he can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Nail's so fucked up. Whereas Nidhogg, it seems kind of the reverse, is that Nidhogg is sort of evaporating and then found this this sort of vessel in Estinian and has sort of invaded it and then sort of clung onto it.
So you'd look at Nail as kind of like almost a Frankenstein monster, whereas Nidhogg is like a straight up possession.
He's a parasite, yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you also had with Nail, you also had a sex change in there as well, where he became female once. How
does that work?
Which is a mechanism that I really don't understand at all.
Well, there's two theories for that. That I've seen circling around, and apparently you get some hints at it more clearly in the French version and the Japanese version than you do in the English version.
Okay.
But it seems that again he's dissipating and he doesn't have like a body to be pulled back into, so he ends up taking the form of basically what's a strong memory to him. A strong memory of, perhaps a former lover or something like that. And the two most prevalent theories are either that it's his mother or it's Bradamante, who's this warrior woman that he's obsessed with, that he named his spear after he defeated her, and there seems to have been some sort of romantic implications there.
Interesting. So let's, at the end, when you defeat Nidhogg, from a story perspective, you end up saving Estinian, which I thought was a really poor narrative choice.
I didn't want them to do it. When we were leading into it, I was like, if they save him, I'm going to be so disappointed because it's going to lose so much impact in the moment. The way that that cutscene that we got later of him in the bed and he's talking about this sort of moment of redemption for him, and the moment that he's sort of absolved, and the moment that he's sort of forgiven Nidhogg and realized that they are sort of one and the same, and he was basically on the way to becoming very much the same kind of thing. I thought that was quite compelling, and I think at the moment that Estinian is still an interesting character to me, and he might still have his uses in future. But my first reaction was exactly the same as yours. It was like, come on.
But I think you could have had that exact same revelation in a death scene.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, in a death scene,
right.
and then the whole scene has way more impact.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, if they never end up going back to Estinian as a character, it really is going to feel very pointless to keep him around.
It's going to feel very strange. Yeah. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but
He's wandering. Maybe he'll show up in Alamigo.
No. Okay, this is just a Kane callback where the poor tortured dragoon betrays everyone, then we save him, and then he has to go in exile because of his dishonor. It's a Kane callback.
Yeah, effectively. As cheap as that feels.
Well, if there's anything that FF14 loves, it's callbacks.
Yeah.
They could have done it a lot worse. They could have done it a lot worse.
I don't know. It does say it screams cheap, especially when you say it out loud like that. There was also that scene as we're saving Estinian, as we're going through the process of saving him, where we see our friends that we've lost. We see Ysael, we see Hearts and Farts, and it's this.
Hearts and Farts.
It's this very. I've seen people on the lore forums refer to it as Deus Ex Heidelin, which I actually love that term.
Well, let's just think about this for a second. God in Heidelin. Well, God is Heidelin.
Right.
Heidelin has that prerogative.
Right. Well, but at the same time, though, it just made me feel like, are we trying to kill Cell? Are we Gohan? What's going on here? Like, what?
All right, this scene actually made me really excited, and I'll explain why. There is a reason why Ysael should be able to persist in some form after death, and that is because she possesses the Echo. And as we've seen from the Ascians, as we've seen from ourselves when we do those sort of transcendent cutscenes where we enter the live stream and stuff like that, is effectively our soul will stay persistent, it'll stay intact, it won't deteriorate after death or outside of the body. So as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, all right, yeah, Ysael, she's doing the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. She has the right to do that given that she has the Echo. But hang on, does Orchefant have the Echo here? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then you think back to Orchefant being this real sort of empathetic and kind of pragmatic and forward-thinking character amongst this sea of intolerant and ignorant-ish Guardians. If you look back at his narrative and think of him as someone possessing the Echo and someone who had the potential of perhaps one day becoming a warrior of light himself, I think that makes his character even more interesting than it already is.
I hadn't thought of that. No, he's right. The thing about, like, when you go to Querthus, everyone there is very much get away from me, and he is just this lone person who's like, oh, it's you, come on, let's hang out.
Instantly.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I get it, but at the same time, it also feels like, oh, geez, everyone we run into that is a major NPC has the Echo.
And Hildebrand.
You know what I mean? Like,
not that many people have the Echo.
Actually, I think it's...
Come on, who's got the Echo? Who's got the Echo? Let's give a list of characters that we know 100% have the Echo.
Ysael and Minfilia.
Ysael, Minfilia. Right.
Possibly Orchefant.
Unkahali, whatever the hell his name is.
Unukalhai. Yeah, Unukalhai and Fryle. That's 4 characters.
Okay.
So we're saying that out of all of the entire population of the world, Heidelin has chosen 4 people to be her chosen ones.
Possibly Horshafont. Possibly Horshafont. So that's a possible 5th. I mean, but that's the thing.
Maybe when one dies, she picks a new one.
But if you can retcon the shit, you know what I mean? Like, what's to stop that filthy Rogadin lady from being a fucking, having the Echo?
Okay, look,
filthy Rogadin lady.
Excuse me, you
be
talking
nice
about
to the
Moon
Limson.
You better not be talking about Moon Burrito.
I am talking about Moon Burrito.
Moon
Burrito.
I'm talking Femo.
Doesn't ring a bell.
She's been dead for quite a while. I think she's safely dead.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can retcon the shit in, like.
Okay, no.
Who's retconning anything?
I think the reason why Horshafant's Hearts and Farts is there is just a lot simpler. He is a holy knight. He can do things like that because he's holy.
Okay, I haven't seen that cutscene since I did it. Can anyone else remember? Did he have the hole in his chest when he respawned? When he was there?
I always just kind of figured it was like our memories or something.
That's what I kind of thought. I just thought like, oh look, we're seeing people who are important to us.
Actually, no.
That's just exactly.
No, it's even better than that. It's another callback to Final Fantasy IV at the very end when Tella comes back and appears as a vision.
Well, it's the same thing at the end of FF7 Advent Children when you see Aerith and Zack. Like, I feel like that's why I thought it was maybe just like your people that you just know they're watching over you from the afterlife.
It's closure.
Why? Why do I need that?
I needed closure for
Why do you
Ysayle
need
because you
closure?
never actually see her body. I needed proof that she was dead. I didn't believe it.
Oh my God.
But I did not know that those two characters. Those two characters had enough closure in their narrative. Like I don't think that
Shiva just blew up.
Yeah, and it was real. That was one of the only. That was one of the only truly emotional parts of the entire of maybe the entire game for me. The Ysayle death, the way that they presented that got me so much more than the hearts and farts. So much more than anything else. Like Ysayle really like I felt that one. And that was surprising for me because
that's really funny because I did not feel that at all. Like,
really,
I only felt it for Orshafont.
After that cutscene, I wasn't even like, I was like, oh, okay, she got hit, whatever, and it didn't hit me that she was actually dead.
That's why I didn't think there was enough closure with her.
I think I'm okay with them
some
showing
people
up.
needed closure. I think some people needed closure, and I understand why they put it in there. At the same time, Anira, I hear what you're trying to say. Basically, that. It doesn't feel super compelling when characters die now because you're just like, well, are they really dead? Like it doesn't really hit you, and we're not trusting the narrative to leave these people dead.
The reason I think I'm okay.
Primal echoed hearts and farts less than 3.
Primal echoed hearts.
The reason I'm okay with seeing them there is because those are the two characters in this story arc who gave their lives for the cause of ending the Dragon Song War. That's why it made sense I think to see them at the end of the Dragon Song War.
It felt heavy-handed in terms of.
I would agree, but I think a lot of Final Fantasy storytelling is very heavy-handed.
Yes, I don't disagree with that, but I mean, it just felt a little unnecessarily heavy-handed.
I think
like
fantasy.
Remember
fantasy is
them? See, they were things.
They died for the cause.
Yeah,
but I feel like, but it's not just Final Fantasy. In so many stories, like you see your previous friends as you're remembering them and pulling strength from their memory. Like it's a thing. It's a narrative choice. That's not just a Final Fantasy thing. Like Harry Potter does it too. Everything does it.
No,
like
I know.
I
recently.
I didn't think it was overdone.
It's the genre. It's fantasy. It's a touchstone of fantasy.
Yeah, but I think it was a little bit heavy-handed there.
I would agree. I just like how like every Scion that's died came back in that cutscene just to give you that last push.
Yeah. Well, and there was someone had actually on this point. Somebody had made a good point on the official lore forums. They had said, when we defeated La Habrea, you saw every goddamn NPC in Eorzea that and they so like. Did they?
Yeah, the last cut actually have screenshots of it. Literally every NPC that's ever helped you appeared.
Yeah,
Jesus.
And you got
to freaking spirit bomb him. That's how you beat La Habrea.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it could be something like that. I will give it that. But again, I still think
we're giving the powers to Goku, aka us, to win.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
No.
It's a fantasy.
All right, let's come to
one.
my least favorite part of that ending fight. The eyes.
Oh, yeah.
So dumb.
Let's talk about this. Yeah.
Who did not scream at their computer screen during that moment?
Yeah.
Just like,
we will scream at it, but we're supposed to.
So, yeah, well, I mean, yes, I know, because they do set it up with the Warriors of Darkness, but that is something that universally everyone from the forums to on this show, no one liked that. No one liked the idea of who takes something that powerful and just chucks it off of a fucking bridge.
We don't know who lives down there.
Right. So, yeah, we take the eyes, we throw them off a bridge.
I thought it was a void, but really it's just Kurthus, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a chasm.
Yeah. You can
just fly down there and get them.
Yeah, you can fly down there and get them. But let's think about the motivation.
Rope is like a really easy invention.
Okay, no.
Just saying.
There's not enough rope in the world to go down that far.
Yes, there is. Sorry. Anyway,
let's think about why we threw them, though. Why did we throw them?
Because you were going to get possessed?
Yeah, because they could end up possessing you. Yeah.
We've just killed Sauron. We've just killed Sauron, and we've gone, oh shit, hot potato. Gandalf's holding the ring. Let's get that out of his hands.
Okay, well, wait.
This isn't turned into a volcano.
Yes, exactly.
This is a chasm you can fly down. If this was a molten hot volcano, I'd say okay.
It would be like defeating Sauron and taking the One Ring and pitching it into the Marsh of the Dead, because that's not going to do anything.
Give it to Gollum. Here you go, man.
Yeah, just like here,
you wanted
have
it, right?
Right.
But it wasn't a rational decision. It was a panic. It was quick, get rid of them, because last time they were that close, they possessed someone. And now the closest victim is the Warrior of fucking Light.
I am the Warrior of Light. I can hold one eye and give the other eye to someone else, okay? I'm a badass.
Don't we hold one of the eyes at some point?
Yeah.
Estinian actually holds one of the eyes for being the Azure Dragoon. The Azure Dragoon is the guardian of one. And like the actual Azure Dragoon doesn't become possessed,
That's
except
true.
for Estinian's
I'll give it to you
unique
guys that
situation.
it's stupid. I'll give it to you guys that's absolutely stupid, but can you concede why the panic was real?
Yes.
I didn't feel like my character was panicking. I thought there was a complete moment where I thought it over in my head and still chucked him over.
I think the frustrating bit is that like
I just wanted to stomp on them.
Your first thought is like, let's throw it, but like these are our representation in the world. So that's why it's frustrating when everyone in the world is like, no.
Like, why can't we just cast flare on them? Like why? Why not try to destroy them?
The second thing is that these eyes are totally empty. There's the Nidhogg's soul has departed. We watched that. There is only one thing that could possibly be left in these eyes, and that is the remaining bits of Laha Brea. There's nothing else in
Maybe that's why the Warriors of Darkness want them.
They're drained. That's why they had to pitch him in the void, because we need to be thinking about Laha Brea and maybe Laha Brea is not dead either. Maybe he's still in the eye. But we saw the eyes, they turned dull. We saw all of Nidhogg's spirit dissipating. He's gone. He's done. As far as we're concerned, at the moment, they're just chunks of rock.
Oh my god, I got it. So basically, this is how we solve the Asian problem, hashtag. We just get more dragon eyes and we set them down.
And we eat them.
No, even better. We have Sid create some kind of like packs that go on our backs and they shoot lasers and we zap the Asians into the eyes. Then we put the eyes into a containment center in New York.
What if we cross the streams though?
Don't cross the streams! Jesus Christ! This is so obvious. This is the best idea ever.
I think that they would have avoided a lot of the criticism if after it happened there was a dialogue that was like, well, that may not
that was
be good.
dumb.
That was dumb. Why did we do that?
Right, shouldn't have done that.
Like an acknowledgement by your character, like maybe that was a little bit short-sighted. But no, but the thing is that your character hawks them off, and then you're like, good job, guys. Let's go home. Congratulations on the Dragon Song War being over.
But if there was a comment that it was stupid, you could just fly down and get them and then destroy them.
Well, I was just like, if like as we're like waiting for Estinian to recover, if like just somehow not Alfino, what's Imeric? If Imeric's just like, oh yeah, we sent someone down to go grab those eyes and put them into a containment bay or something. Remember where we found Sephiroth? We're gonna put the eyes there.
Yeah, like we've got people like Sid. Like it does seem like there should be someone like working on like maybe we should get those back. Like I don't know. That's just leaving them down there is maybe not the best idea.
Okay, so who told us to throw the eyes down?
Did Emmerich tell us that?
That was Imeric.
Emmerich was freaking out and being
so
cast them into the void.
Emmerich is the bad guy. He's got corrupted somehow.
Yeah, what if he's possessed that didn't want us to destroy them?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Actually,
that'd be great. That's awesome if that's the case. If he's working with the Warriors of Darkness, that's amazing.
I actually did not consider that. Yeah.
That is not going to happen.
That can fuck right off.
No. Didn't Emmerich
please.
say to his little girlfriend just to follow his lead no matter what happens?
Yeah. Then.
Emmerich may not be who we think he is, aka Ilberd Part 2.
Oh God damn it! Asshole.
Judging how
do you like how he starts with a really agreeable, interesting point and then goes to that?
I gotta roll
Ilberd from the start.
I gotta roll that back. I thought you were actually like making a joke that he is Ilberd. Ha ha ha.
He's
he's just a version 2.0.
No. Judging how all 3.0 is going, I highly doubt that's going to happen.
If he's like Ilberd, his game is a lot longer than Ilberd's.
Well, everybody was very smart. I mean, he's Alamegan. Come on, they're not exactly
By the way,
the most
Yeah,
intelligent.
Ilbert was very transparent the whole way through.
Yeah.
Nika, I'd just like to point out that, as I said, we never got that drink, did we?
No.
No, we didn't. What did I tell you was going to happen?
So this, I think that the way that the story ends kind of leaves a lot of questions about, like, the continuing relations between us and the dragons, because we still fight the shit out of them in fates and in dungeons and stuff like that. So it does kind of put in a weird, like...
Well, we still need our loots.
In the Moogle quest, you work together to restore the ruins.
That's true.
But aren't
I've got a couple of things I can say about this. Firstly, the dragons we're still fighting are the remnants of Nidhogg's brood.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about immersion, then just pretend that they're the dissidents that are left that you're mopping up, I guess, when you're running through the mist or whatever. Secondly, in terms of moving forward with Hrace Velga's brood, if you do the Victory Lap quests, I don't know if you guys have done that yet. But there's this really interesting scene when you go and speak with Tiamat again, and Midgardsormr says something basically to the effect of, "Hey, Tiamat, look at what man's trying to do now, and it is my hope that man and dragon will be creating a bulwark against the dark." Now, what I've been saying a lot recently is I hope that the Dragon Song War doesn't spell the end of our relationship with the brood of Hrace Velga. It's not something that just falls, into the background. That characters like Vidofnir and Vidrfolnir are still going to be important. I think that Hrace Velga's brood are going to be critical moving into 4.0 and moving against Garlemald.
Interesting. It's possible, but
now we have dragon cavalry.
Yeah, like I guess I didn't even really consider that, because it seemed like our march toward Alamigo and our fight with the Garleans was so disconnected from everything that was happening in Korthus. And
well, the thing is that if you speak to Vidofnir about the Ascians, she's quite interested in the Ascians, and she sort of feels the same way that we do, that they're the ones that are behind everything. And as far as someone with the lifespan of a dragon is concerned, it's not about politics, it's about good versus evil. They have the same kind of
The
perspective.
Ascians are the
as
one who
Warrior
tricked
of
and
Light
fucked up
does.
Tiamat and Bahamut anyway.
Exactly. They don't see these petty kind of political squabbles that for them go past in the blink of an eye between humans. They see this battle between Heidel and the agents of Zodiac. And that's what Vidofnir is going to want to get involved with, and that's what Hrace Velga's brood is going to be motivated to help us with.
That's
what motivated Midgardsormr to help us.
There's probably some bad blood between Midgardsormr with the whole Agrius thing and the Garleans, right? I mean...
Yeah,
probably still a little mad about that.
The Garleans did take Midgard down.
Yeah, I feel like they would probably be willing to go
head to head. Hold a grudge, though. He doesn't really seem to hold a grudge.
That's what I say. Is after 3.3, are we kind of going to be done talking to Midgardsormr?
I don't know. He's still hanging out with us, isn't he?
Yeah, I like when he just shows up and says something really snarky to me.
I'm really hoping that we're going to get a Keeper of the Lake hard at some point.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, because I would really like to go back and get some, clarify some stuff with Midgardsormr.
That could be like the press or the start of like the very first like hard mode dungeon revamping that could be part of a story.
I
would like that. I would like to see that because I think that...
I'm not sure what would send us back there, mind you, because the reason why the Imperials were there is they were stripping parts and salvaging things to help build their new big flagship, the one that we have in Azazlar now. I'm just not sure it would motivate us to go back there.
Because before we didn't actually have a relationship with Midgardsormr. Yeah. So now that we actually do, and there's a dialogue between us and Midgardsormr, that could be the impetus.
Maybe his eyes are still there, and he's like, "Yo, I need you guys to like."
We're gonna grab his eyes and just throw him into the lake. Force of
what we're gonna do is Yeah, we're gonna get on the steps of fate.
The Warriors of Light are just now like traumatized by eyes, so we get like Airman eyes, like, oh, thanks.
It's like,
oh, Jesus.
like eye-shaped foods. People like peel a lychee for you, and you're just like, oh.
So all right, that's pretty much the Dragon Song War. It looks like the next focus in terms of a narrative is probably going to be Warring Triad. We'll get to that in a second, but I think that some of the most interesting lore so far has come out of Weeping City of Makek. And
no doubt.
And did I just hear an Ethys boner?
I think he just came.
You heard Chubba the Dragon being extended by 50 seconds, my friend.
So Weeping City of Makek happens in happens in the Yafim Saltmoor, which
Yafim Saltmoor.
Yes, that is to the northwest of Mordona, and actually the river that we get rushed away by, that's the river that ends up flowing into Silvertear Falls, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a tributary does go through Silvertear Falls. Ultimately, what that river does, the White Maiden, it starts up, I guess, with snowfalls or whatever in Blathia's spine, and it sort of winds down south to the Strait of Melthor, which is just across from Vilbrand, which is the Nosha, obviously. And just before it gets to the coast, it snakes off into this delta.
Yeah.
And at the end of the delta is a great big fucking pyramid. What does that make you think of?
The Illuminati. Oh
no. So when we get to the Weeping City, it is completely destroyed. It is obviously the inhabitants of the city are long gone, and so we have no real sense about what destroyed that city outside of possibly the flood that happened during the War of the Magi. So
Ozma eats cities.
Well, but it doesn't seem. I mean, if Ozma was going to eat it, I think it would be a little bit. It would be a little bit more like Nim.
No. No, Ozma hasn't gotten in on that.
Yeah, because since Ozma's housed there, I don't think that I think you would have seen more damage to the pyramid, to the place that it's housed. It wouldn't have been in the exterior, because all the run up to the pyramid is all destroyed. Like we first start in the marshlands. And we encounter the first boss, Arachne Eve, right around where the ship crashes. Tits McGee's ship crashes over to the side. You can kind of see the flaming wreckage. But Arachne Eve has been there for a long time, and it's not until we get into the river takes us down into what looks like the city proper before we get to the pyramid. So I'm curious what destroyed the city proper. I'm guessing that it's the flood associated.
Yes.
Okay, all right, yeah. Because it's interesting.
We're talking about no ordinary flood here. We're talking about. I mean, it's literally the biblical flood. It's years and years of rain without reprieve. You find the area before we reach Arachne Eve. It's called the Dry Road.
Okay,
and what that kind of says to me is that the city's being flooded, and they're trying to build infrastructure to compensate for this flooding. Until they finally get to the point where they're like, oh my god, this is going to consume the whole world. We need to build a giant fucking airship and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, because it was the Makai that built the Void Ark to avoid the flood, and so that's actually kind of that's an interesting theory that they had built their civilization upward to try to compensate for it first before saying, oh shit, this is a problem, we need to build that Void Ark. But what I'm curious about is why there doesn't seem to be any destruction on the pyramid. Once we get into the pyramid, it's a very pristine structure, and it does not seem to be damaged in any way, shape, or form. And I wonder how it was able to get to the other side of the flood without sustaining damage like that. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But
I think it's because it was designed to house. It's basically like the presidential bunker, you know what I mean? Like it's a really important piece of kit. It's housing 2 super weapons, and they're going to build it out of much sturdier stuff than they're building the city.
Why couldn't they just all hide in there?
Why couldn't they all just hide in there? That's
I don't want to hide next to Ozma.
Maybe
That's
they
a very
did in
good
the
question.
coffins.
Maybe
I assume it's because the Void Ark was about either trying to find a new life somewhere else, or about putting them in stasis in orbit or something, and then coming back once the flood had receded.
yeah, it might have been. Like, it very well might have been sort of like their last refuge until Void Ark. And
let's be real, there was at least one Marquis mage who stayed in the pyramid.
Yeah. So we do know that the Makai were an extremely hostile nation. They openly waged war on Nim and Ampedor. They sent Batoso to Nim to turn the Nimians into Tonberries. We think that they also sent Diabolos into Amdapor, where he then got
that's what
sealed.
They did.
Yeah, where he then got sealed down in Ampedor. And and of course also created the Void Ark to avoid the flood calamity, which in a lot of ways they were responsible for causing. So,
absolutely.
So it's really interesting to see, because you're right. It went in the bosses. You've got Ozma, which is straight up a weapon, and then you've also got, along with Califistri, the Nullstone, which is sort of like an oh shit panic button that will obliterate Void Sense. So you've got 2 ostensibly weapons, 1 protector in there. Califistri, I'm assuming that's who you were talking about in the mage that stayed behind.
Yes.
So the story that's being told in our run-up, I mean, outside of Tits McGee and her whole thing, but that Arachne, Eve, and Forgal, the first 2 bosses that we fight, are not like it's not like
they're not with the Marquis. No, they're not defending the city.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not. They're trying to get in and access Ozma and get access to the Nullstone, just as we are. And it seems like we're coming up behind them and going, "Hi, poke, poke, we're here too." Yeah. And they're going, "Oh shit!" Yeah. So, let's first talk about Arachne Eve, because there's a lot of really interesting lore behind Arachne Eve.
Yeah. I actually did a long video on Arachne.
Very good video,
recently.
Really good, yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's very flattering. So she's an Allergan. She's an Allergan chimera. We know that the Allergans were experimenting with synthetic void scent. If you have a look at Arachne web or Arachne velveteen, these are items that we've had for quite a while that you can currently trade for Grand Company seals and use to build a whole bunch of different pieces of kit. They explicitly say that they come from the chimerical Allergan monstrosity, Arachne. So we have clues at this narrative of this 5,000-year-old monster that has survived the death of Alleg, that has survived, another 2,500 years, and somehow wound up in the Yafam Saltmore.
Yeah, and how she ended up there is a big question mark. Big question mark. We don't know if she had come with Forgal or maybe let Forgal through with an agreement, but when she dies, she does say that she has to tell Forgal.
Just to warn Forgal. So we know that they're on the same side.
Right, yeah, there is an alliance.
I like to think of her like Shelob. I like to think of her as having been in the Yafam Saltmore when the Marquis show up and them being, kind of like Sauron and reaching this sort of agreement with her, and she ends up becoming, their door bitch or whatever. And she outlives them as well. And then when Forgirl comes along and is like, hey, we want to get this thing, we're going to mess some shit up, she's like, sweet, let's do it.
When it talks about these items having come from the monstrous Allegan Chimera, Arachne, is Arachne different than Arachne Eve?
I think we can assume that they're one and the same, either that Arachne Eve is one of the Arachnes, or that it is literally just her.
Yeah, putting Eve on the end of it
way.
always, to me, makes it sound like it's a spawn of Arachne to me.
Or Eve to me is like the day before a holiday. It's not like maybe it was a prequel. Maybe it was one of the early.
Well, that's the thing.
The early experiments.
Arachne, yeah, and Eve being, ostensibly as far as anyone but the any Christian tradition but the Catholics believe.
Yeah, that's
the first woman.
Second.
Yeah, so it's more likely.
But Woody's technically right. Woody's technically right. Technically second. Lilith was first. So
Thank you.
Lilith was first.
Asshole.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's more likely that she's the first. She's the prototype. And if there are others, then she's not a child of them. She has outlived all of them.
Yeah,
she's a fascinating character.
Yeah. I was gonna say. I was also gonna agree with the Adam and Eve thing. So after we defeat Arachne Eve, and it's also not clear how long she's been there either. She could have been there since before the Makai. She could have also taken up residence after the flood was finished too.
She could have.
So
that's true. She could have.
But we do know that her webbing is pretty much the thing that was responsible for Tits McGee's ship going down. Pretty safe. Pretty safe to say. So. All right. So Forgall is the next enemy that we get to, which is there's
He's a servant of Scuthok.
Oh, okay. All right. So we've encountered them before because what's
the Voidok?
Yes. What's the boss's name? Cthulhu? Yeah, Cthulhu is also another servant.
Yeah, that's right. And we have a very clear, pattern of naming conventions with Scuthok's minions. So Queen Scuthok is a character from the Ulster cycle of Irish mythology, which centers around the hero Cthulhu. But a lot of these names for Dyad, Cthulhu, obviously, and Forgall are names from this myth that involves Queen Scuthok.
Right. I want to talk about his character model here for just a second. Taser Smurf in the chat saying that it looked a bit like Pandemonium Ward, and we've seen some of these character models before in FF11. But I find it. I like this character model a lot because you've got the ball that it's sitting on that is floating around, and I for some reason. These things always really creep me out. It's
really unsettling.
It really fucking
whatever
is.
That goopy thing is.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, I feel you, dude.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about it, but it does. It gets some base reaction to me. And then when he's charging up the big move while you've got the 3 adds, that is the ball that he's sitting on, right? Like that's,
oh yes, yeah.
So I mean, I'd be curious to know a little bit more about the item that he's using to fight you. But I very interesting enemy. And where do you think that are we going to end up confronting Queen Scuthok or?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
You think so?
Queen Scuthok is our new Cloud of Darkness. I'll be very disappointed.
Oh, so that's that.
I think that's
who's in the big coffin.
She's going to be the last boss of the next one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's the one that was in the big coffin. I reckon our final romp through, I'm assuming, or I don't think I should assume at this point. I want it to be Dunskaith. Which is her fortress of shadows. I want the second last boss to be Diablos, and then I want to fight the big queenie herself.
Juxta, will you help me kill Queen Skullfuck?
Yes, but I'm going to disagree with Ethys here. I think everything is pointing towards us going to the moon and fighting on the Guardian Space Station.
I hate you. You're the worst.
Again, bringing back these fucking 2015 bits and memes.
Right?
You say bringing back like he doesn't mention it every week.
Yeah, we've never let it die in the first place. Seriously.
Keeping the flame alive. I love you guys.
Right, one offhanded comment by a moron, and it just spawns a running joke for years.
Well, yeah.
Wait, am I the moron here?
No,
that would be Skuro.
That would have been Skuro. Skuro mentioned a Garlean space station, and I swear I wanted to drown him in a tub.
Still do. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, right. But that's just,
for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Essie's gonna put it in and name it the SS Screw You and Nero.
Oh my god. If I did that, my life would be complete. I could probably die happy at that. But here's the interesting thing. We've got Forgal, we've got Cahulin, we've got some of these minions of Queen Skullfuck. I like that. I'm going to use that, Queen Skullfuck.
I like that. That's good.
And so, what is the connection with Diabolos and with now I can't remember his name. We refer to him as Kefka.
Skuro is a lot like the sun.
Fediad.
Round.
Fediad, that's it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fediad is another one.
Thank you, Warswine.
Cycle. Diabolus, that's a more obvious one. Not Irish. Diabolus is not Irish, as far as I know. It's interesting. Basically, what's happened with Skathak's troop, as far as I've gleamed, is that it's this group of Void Sent that has been, I guess, like incidentally brought together as slaves of the Marquis, and they just haven't let it go.
You think we're gonna get a gauntlet battle against? We'll do Cahulin, and then we'll do Forgal. Sort of like they did in Alexander.
Even better, have them all come at us at once.
Oh,
they're Void Sent, man.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be
pretty cool. Well, yeah, I mean, there's no reason.
Might. I like it.
The thing is, to create a portal to like bring something like Cahulin back into our world. That's what Zande was doing, right? He was trying to create this portal that these massively powerful Void Sent could come back and forth through. Pulling a Void Sent like Cahulin out of the Void is a big fucking deal, like causing a calamity by channeling Dalamud into the Crystal Tower and destroying everything big. Like, it's no small feat.
Well, then, I would say that all of the plans to get Queen Skullfuck back into action is along those lines. So, I see your point.
I think we're going to do like a reverse World of Darkness with her. I think that rather than trying to like pull a bit of Eorzea into the Void, she's going to be pulling her bit of the Void into Eorzea.
Okay.
And I think that's that big like tower we see in the concept art, that the Void Ark sort of hovering above. I'm taking that to be her Fortress of Shadows, Dunskaith. Again, that comes from the Irish. That's where Queen Skathak hangs out. I think she's going to be trying to pull that out of the Void and sort of anchor it in Eorzea, somewhere in the Sea of Clouds.
That's a bold theory. So somewhere in the Sea of Clouds, like. It would be interesting if they did that. Like, how would that be represented in the map? Like, in the actual map? Like, what would change? Where would the zone line be? How would that change the map? Like, I think it would be interesting, like, if they put it as its own... if they like ripped.
It'd be nice if it was visible.
Yeah,
in the same way
agree.
That the Void Ark became visible first. So the way I see it. You know how the Void Ark does that big, like, ethereal tear sort of thing that opens into the Void? I can imagine them doing something like that. Yeah. Just having, like, this gaping wound and just, like, pulling this sort of island up through it.
That would be very cool. And like, intrinsically Final Fantasy, too.
We're going to get our own Ultimecia castle.
I was going to say, that sounds like a Final Fantasy 8 callback.
Oh, sure does.
Doesn't it? Yeah. If you guys aren't going to do that.
I think, isn't there...
Yoshi, you can have that.
Isn't there still a spot in Azizla that has that we thought has a potential to be a eventual dungeon area at the bottom of Azizla?
So many.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Azizla is packed. It's so loaded.
Yeah, there is. There's little nooks and crannies where you can find all kinds of stuff. Yeah, they really built that zone to have a lot of possibilities into it.
A lot of Gucci's, Nazasla.
Yeah. So let's talk about Ozma. We finally got to the point where everyone actually struggles in the dungeon. This was the one that...
Everyone dies once.
It was such a cool presentation, by the way, and so visually well done and stunning.
Most pug groups I found actually died to the lack of the zombie mechanic from the boss before, not from Ozma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, most pug groups I've done.
It's because the Megadeth is just such a tank mechanic, and if the tank sucks and keeps the boss right next to the puddles, there's nothing you can do.
That is true. Yeah, if you got bag tanks, you're really going to struggle on Forgel. Yeah, so Ozma, we had said earlier, used as a weapon to destroy cities.
Yeah, it's a super weapon.
Yeah, and so... Ethys, tell us about... there's this really cool moment in the Ozma fight where we get sucked into a black hole and we fight, in this other place. What is
a long hiatus,
what is up
I'm
with
back,
that?
bitches.
Wow!
WTF
Hang on just a second.
And totals, fellow listeners.
Wow, Miri Kennett tossing in $200.
Damn,
Miri,
welcome back. Thank you.
Son of a bitch!
Thank you so much, Miri. Thank you.
Check your Patreon messages.
Yeah. Patreon, by the way, you guys sitting over at patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Our totals are sitting at $18.98. So we're up a bit.
My God.
Almost back above 2,000.
Guys.
Oh, thank you, Ethys. Almost back above 2,000. We do want to see it above 2,000 to be able to continue to make Final Encounter Cast weekly. So while Miri was bringing it up, there's a plug. Patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Let's talk about what is inside. I guess inside
What's
of
inside
Ozma.
Ozma, yeah.
What is?
Inside the glory hole.
The glory hole. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the cities that it's been enveloped.
It's
right?
Nim. It's Nim. It's Central Nim. If you have a look below the Atomos mobs that we fight, you see the symbol of Oshin, the warden, who is the patron of Nim. You look around you; it's all Nimian architecture. It's the same textures that you see in Bronze Lake and around the Wanderer's Palace. It is Nim. It is Nim. I will not accept it being anything other than Nim. I'm absolutely convinced on this one. So what has happened, right, in terms of the invasion of Nim? So Nim is renowned for having these military genius scholars, having a very small standing army, but these absolute genius scholars. We've sent in this invisible void sent to give all of these scholars this horrible plague that turns them into tonberries, right?
Right.
So we've crippled their sort of military stratagem, and then we've taken this giant fucking black hole and just drifted it across the center of their city.
Yeah. It is.
I feel like one or the other would have been sufficient to wipe them out.
Right?
But that's what the Maquis are all about. They're all about the overkill, and that's why we got a calamity out of it. They're just fucking horrible little potatoes.
Yeah. It is really...
Wait, are they all Lalafell? Do we know that?
No, they're not all. They're probably not all Lalafell.
They probably are all Lalafell. Now that you think about it, they have genocide written all over them.
Well, but I mean,
don't we fight dead
really
Maquis people?
No, actually, let's talk about this. Ethys, what can you tell us about the character models of the fallen Maquis that we fight?
Well, look, it's bullshit. The character models of every single undead that we fight everywhere forever, even from during periods where we know there were no Hures in Eorzea, they're all Hure models. Every zombie, all the Maquis, all of the Amdapori undead. I just don't think we can take anything from looking at those undead models. I don't know whether that's an oversight. I don't know whether that's something weird about Umbral Ether or some bullshit. But
only Hure can be resurrected.
They really need to. I mean, if they're very specific about where the origins of each race come from. I think that
And
is.
they are.
Yeah, and exactly. I think that is a huge oversight.
Or is it?
Or,
I think
there's
honestly, I think it's an oversight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you.
It's on the top of my list for questions that I need to nail Koji with in October. It's right at the top of the list.
There you go.
So I'm gonna get us an answer for that. I promise.
Or I'm just spitballing here, but maybe this confirms that all hearers are actually zombies and should be eradicated. Mikotes for life. Hashtag.
Well, I mean,
it's
zombie
possible
brands,
that not all
fairly
of
good
these
evidence.
races existed in the city, right? So, I mean, maybe they were all here.
Well, the thing. All right, okay. I'm gonna go into it briefly. Right, we have the Belladines. Okay, are a race of Lalafels. We know that there were no Hurons with the Belladines because the Belladines talk about in their history about the first Hure immigrants and invaders coming to Eorzea and how they repelled them and fought them off. Now, the Belladines claim to be direct ancestors of the Marquis. So they can't have been descended from any Hures, presumably.
Yeah. So
we have that. We have the only confirmed names that we have of Marquis citizens are Shatoto, who cannot be anything but a Lalafell,
right,
and Califisteri, which is very, very vague. So I suspect, and my headcanon is that they're all Lalafells, and that this is the origins of the Lalafellian scumbag plague that we see all the way through to Uldar. That is not confirmed, and they're loose ends, and I'm trying to tie them up.
Well, if they were Hure invaders, couldn't the Hures have mated with Lalafels to create the next descendants?
Well, not according to Skuro. Skuro says you can't do that.
That's thousands of years after Marquis fell.
No, actually, Lalafels do not mate. They're just grown in cabbage patches. Thank you very much.
We do.
I'm okay with that headcanon.
Yes.
So going back to Ozma.
Hold on. Do we really want to move past Lalafell sex? Because Nika brought it up.
Absolutely.
That's not even what I was trying to bring up, but all right.
We're going to go back to the Sultana's lap. We're going to do another 2015.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good
Props to
episode.
that one.
That was.
That was fun.
We didn't get a single complaint about that.
Side.
Not a single complaint.
No, we didn't get a single complaint about that episode. Not one.
Yeah, none. No, none. So Ozma being used as a weapon to destroy cities, but we're not even really sure what Ozma really is. I mean, it seems like a link between universes or dimensions.
It's a link between dimensions. So we the way that we've been talking about this whole mission of the Asians at the moment, and the rejoining or whatever it is that they're calling it,
right,
is that we're describing it scientifically as a dimensional collapse. So it's the idea of like taking dimensions that have scattered and sort of folding them back together. So what I think the Marquis have done is either they've discovered this little pocket dimension and they've somehow contained it, or else they have looked at this kind of theory and gone, well, we could probably make something like that.
So the legend that we have around the destruction of Nim, that it was over-aspected wind crystals and Nim just floated off into Never Neverland.
You know what causes crystals to over-aspect? Blowing the shit out of them.
Phrasing.
That's what causes crystals to over-aspect.
Fair enough. But
so they're not mutually exclusive.
Well, but in the floating city of Nim, when you do go there on the map, there are sections of the city that are floating, and they don't look like they've necessarily been ripped out. It was Nim indeed a floating city that over time, the legend of how it got destroyed it's been like a big game of telephone.
Well, that's possible. The other thing I've thought of with Nim is it a floating city like, the churning mists have floating cities, or is it a floating city like Venice is a floating city?
Okay.
Because we know that Nim was the foremost naval power in the realm at the time. So I think it's quite as likely that it's just these floating islands that are, got wind crystals underneath them. But yeah, you're quite right. And if you look at the floating city of Nim as well, if you look over that, you see a big fucking crater.
Yeah.
You see a big fucking Ozma-shaped crater. I just want to say.
Now, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that zone because that's definitely really interesting.
I mean, so did they create Ozma specifically to destroy Nim, or did they have other enemies and this was more of like are just gonna have this big super weapon on par with a nuke?
We don't actually see any evidence of any other destroyed cities.
Well, that's the thing about super weapons, right? Is you tend to only have to use them once.
You know what? That's kind of a good point. Kind of a good point. So when we find Ozma, we obviously find it at the Gloriole, which is sort of, I guess it's a docking station for it.
It's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. Gloriole in French means vanity. It's a synonym for vanity, I should say. It doesn't literally mean vanity. And the area below the Gloriole is called the Gallery. So what we have here is a place where the Marquis can go and they can see framed this city that they have consumed and destroyed and just go and check it out.
Ha ha ha.
Just go and have a circle jerk around.
That's so metal.
Genocide.
They have a museum for people they've mass murdered.
And that's the thing is I really wanted to drive this home, just how terrible as a culture the Makai were. They were terrible. Terrible people.
They're pretty cool.
No, that's awful.
They sound very, very, very Lalafell.
That's
Teleji Adeleji would have had one of those.
That's sort of that.
Did you say man crush?
That's sort of like the crew of the Enola Gay watching, the Hiroshima footage and jacking off to it. It's terrible.
That's exactly what it's like.
You know what I mean? Like all of those people were guilt-ridden after that, and like this.
Makai were just like, that was sweet.
Yeah, they're just like, ha, jizz. It's fuck, man. What an awful, awful culture. And we're not really clear, given context clues or really anything from Ozma, the way that we fight it. We don't really know how it was deployed. We don't really know how they moved it. We don't really know how they called it to a place.
Yeah, how did they call it to Nim without it destroying anything else?
I kind of wondered that as well. Like, did they have to,
maybe they have a remote control?
Yeah.
Maybe the pyramid
turn on, turn off.
The pyramid flies.
Oh, yeah, it's like the lunatic Pandora in FF8.
Yeah.
You move it around, and wherever it ends up, that's where it goes.
Why would the pyramid need to fly? That just seems so excessive.
Well,
the Makai were all about being understated.
But if Ozma can't absorb the pyramid, it needs something to like stop its power from enveloping their own city.
Maybe it didn't even need to go to Nim physically. Maybe they did something else in Nim that just channeled it into Ozma. They just had their gallery already set up, and that Ozma's just the glass.
I want a cutscene throwback to Nim where there's just these two guys hanging around like on a boat. Just be like, wow, winds are pretty good today. Oh shit, flying pyramid.
Sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my giant throbbing erection.
Man, genocide's funny.
Can I re-roll as Makai? Because these guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's called Lalafell.
Yeah, there you go.
Join us.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
Lalafell in their current iteration just aren't
sadistic enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some pretty corrupt Lalafell and Oldai.
Yeah, there are some pretty terrible Lalafell. Ozma is such a fascinating enemy, and I mean, it's not even really clear how we're able to defeat it.
You're literally poking an atomic warhead with a spear.
Like we get sucked into a world.
Exactly.
Yeah, into a world where Nim never came back from, and we're able to just come in and then come out.
The Nim people weren't able to kill Dark Ozma in there.
Well, they didn't have the DPS check, okay?
I was saying this when...
I mean, does it have to do with the Echo, maybe?
When people were wiping to it, I don't know what it has to do with. When people were wiping to it and they're complaining about, oh, this is fucking bullshit, losing Ozma and stuff, I'm like, let's put this in a lore perspective, right?
Right.
Ozma would eat the face off Bahamut or anything else that we fought. It is in a league above anything else. The only thing that we have over it is intelligence, presumably. Right. I don't know how we beat it. Having the Echo, having our soul able to remain intact and pass between, these barriers of dimensions, that would have been absolutely critical. There's no way we could have done it without the Echo. You're right. But all the same, it's insane.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that it is probably my favorite fight that exists in this game right now.
Really?
Yeah, I really do think so. The mechanics that they put in with it are perfectly tuned to the amount of people that you have in the fight. Mm-hmm. It takes communication, or at least everyone just operating off of the same context, all three parties. And I think that is one of the coolest aspects of the 24-man raids that is not taken advantage of enough, and they really took advantage of it in this fight. And I think it was very, very well done.
I found a really nice medium between being frustrated at having three parties that don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it being completely face roll. I found that this is like the perfect sort of mid-core difficulty level was this fight. I agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we move on from the Gloriole, we move up to the top of the pyramid where we fight Califistri. But before we talk about Califistri, I actually want to talk about the two statues that exist in the room as you are running up to the final platform. I am so curious what these statues are, or if they are even statues. They do seem like they are chained somehow, that they are bound somehow. Ethys, do you have any kind of insight onto what these two figures are?
Well, look, they're carbon copies of same models that we see basically flanking doorways in the Void Arc. So I feel like they are some kind of, religious symbol. Someone keeps trying to tell me, a few people keep trying to tell me actually, that there's a third one of them down near the bottom of that room as we're heading up towards Califisteri.
Is that right?
I haven't seen it. I've been looking for it. I haven't seen it. I think there's only two of them. I could be wrong about this. The only thing that I can think of at the moment is that they could be representations of Nold and Thol, the twin deities that oversee the void.
Oh, wow.
That we worship in Uldar today.
Now that's really interesting because there aren't very many statue-like representations of the 12, right?
There's a few. There's a few.
Okay.
If you have a look at the what is it called, the Lost City or whatever it is in Thanalan, the Belladine ruins on the cliff edge.
Yep. That was the one that was the only one that I could think of.
Yeah, there's a huge statue of Ozma there.
Yeah.
There's also I'm pretty sure, it is Aelport. There's that big statue of a mermaid. That's Land.
Okay. All right. I did not know that.
So there's a few of them around, but they're not quite as ostentatious as these are.
Well, and it would make sense because the Makai did later become the Beldians, who then became Ulda, and those are the I wouldn't say the main gods, but they really do play a large role in Uldan society.
Well, to be fair, the Belladines seemed to remember the sins of the Marquis, and they turned to worshipping Ozma, the sun goddess. And it was only really towards the end of their period, and when they fractured into Uldar and Sildir and had their civil war, that people started to rediscover black magic, having obviously forgotten all of these important lessons, and turn back to this old tradition, which is around the same time that the Uldan started worshipping Nalthal. So yeah, I think there's a very a very real chance that's Naldenthal. Again, that's pretty close to the top of my list for Koji Fox at the moment. But that's like, I think that's the best sort of working theory I have at the moment.
All right, so let's talk about the actual Califistri fight. Now, by the time we get to the fight, by the time we confront Califistri, she is not a recognizable race of Eorzea, so we can't really extrapolate.
She's still hot.
Well,
it's boobs.
Anyway, so
I'll allow it.
She is protecting, and in fact, in that fight, she's using against you the Null Stone, which is an item, an item that obliterates Void Scent. So,
among other things.
Yeah, is the Null Stone really anything more than this plotline's MacGuffin?
It's this plotline's Tupsamati or this plotline's Eye of Nidhogg.
Right.
It is the same thing. It's an item that can hold an infinite amount of ether that you can carry around and use however you see fit. It just so happened that the way the Marquis designed it was to deal with these massively powerful void scents as like you say, an emergency trigger.
Yeah, it's
emergency
like
stop sign.
It's like an oh shit button for them, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
but it's not limited to those things.
Okay. All right. And which kind of makes you wonder what else it does exactly. But Califistri has remained there protecting that item until we best her and take it from her. And take it with us. What kind of role do you see the Nullstone playing down the line?
Well, I think it is very, very okay. Let's imagine what Diablos thought he was trying to achieve, knowing that Califistri was guarding this Nullstone,
right,
and that she knew how to use it. What's going to happen if Diablos walks into that room and then tries to fight Califistri? Isn't it awfully fucking?
It's going to go bad.
Yeah, isn't it awfully convenient that we get there and kill Califistri immediately before Fadide and Diablo show up?
You know, yeah, that makes sense.
He was probably following us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he wanted us to procure it.
So you think that's his setup?
Taking it off us. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Absolutely. And I think that Korshi is, I don't know whether he's going to or not, but Korshi, we know his background is as a Maki familiar, so it's fairly safe to assume that if he's not literally a void scent, then he's created out of some kind of void magic. I can see Koshi being, the pathetic little void scent that got picked on in the schoolyard, suddenly having in his hands the ultimate weapon to controlling all void scent and going, I wonder what I can do with this.
Well, this again, some of the most fascinating lore coming out of the Weeping City. And again, we got a nice addition to the map that we didn't have before. I find it incredibly satisfying when we're able to fill in more of the Eorzean map with context. I know that there's a lot of people who were upset about Fields of Glory being Camp Glory and being Eastern Korthus lowlands, but I'm really actually encouraged that they're filling out the world in a meaningful way. And this is this is a really great way to add to it, especially after we didn't get any of that with Crystal Tower. Crystal Tower did not provide any of that because it was all kind of in the same place and moving up. This has been very cool to introduce introduce us to a separate space on the map, which I wasn't expecting because Void Ark is so disambiguated from the rest of the world. So they did some very great world building here, which I think I really do think that adds to the enthusiasm with which this content was received. So just
absolutely
little note there for Square Enix. Let's talk about the Warring Triad, because this seems to be where the focus of the narrative is going to be for any more 3.x patches. We are dealing with how do you say his name? Uncalhai.
Ukulele.
Ukulele. I like that. So
white child.
So we're dealing with ukulele. We don't know what his identity is. We have an idea of maybe who his master might be, but we don't have any idea.
He's a Mackay.
Ethys, what are your theories about the identity of ukulele?
About the identity of him?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's purely headcanon, but I want him to be Gaius's son.
Oh,
and I have done a video on this, and
I like
there
that.
are like certain things that compel it, particularly the way he interacts with regular Van Hydras. He says, what does he say when he encounters him the first time after we leave, and then he catches up with us and we're like, yo, where were you? And he's like, oh, I thought I saw a man, but it turned out it was just a shadow. And that got me thinking, and I went back through their interactions, and I went back through the things that that Una Kalhai was saying prior to this patch, and the relationship of his name being diametrically opposed to Elidibus. Yeah, I mean, it's tenuous, but I think that could be a really fun direction to go.
It would make some level of sense. Like, one thing that has confused me about him is why the mask? Because there's almost no one who our character throughout this game has been like, I'm not talking to you, you're a dick.
Yeah.
Like, what would so compel you to hide your appearance outside of like, oh yeah, I'm the son of the person who caused the calamity.
That's actually that's a great point. I like that point a lot.
I mean, Yugiri hid her face because of racism, so I could assume that. I mean, this could be anything. He could be something strange.
Yeah, it could be anything.
He could have he could be a void scent. He could be like, I don't know. He could have something that.
Yeah, or
wants
he
to
could
hide
have
from
the
us.
third Galilean eye.
He could.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because I forgot
yeah,
about
but
that.
what's her face? Lucia's sister.
Lucia and her tiara.
She just wears a tiara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look how well that worked out. We got that spoiled like day one that she came out.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's like, I'm going to cover my whole face so people can't look at me.
You really can't. You really can't see the other side of his face. Because I mean, I've tried. I've swiveled that camera so many times. I wanted to get a good look at.
I wonder if they even have a
face
model
model.
underneath it.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Why are you trying to look?
Oh,
at
they'd
little
have
kids?
to.
I mean, you
All
think
right,
they've already rendered a face model for him?
I'm
yeah.
sure they have.
Yeah. I bet they have. I bet they have.
It's just a big question mark.
They're not going to like design a character and be like, you know what, we'll do his face later.
Well, but if his face is kind of an important plot point, they could just.
I'd like to go home early today. I think we'll just do it later, guys.
But I mean, they might not have it currently implemented behind that mask.
Yeah,
Like, they could change it.
They could have learned. They could have learned something from Livia.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah.
So, all right, there is questions about who his master is. We know that he is serving someone, although all signs seem to point at this point to it being Elidibus.
Well, he says his master's from another world, and that could mean another dimension. Could mean Elidibus. There's definitely the connection with his name being, the same star sign and that. Now, a lot of people have been conflating him saying that his master is from another world with him saying that he is from another world. At no point does Unu Kalhai explicitly say that he himself is from another world. What he does say is that in this other world, champions were using something called aurasites to contain primal-like monsters, and it all went arse up and destroyed that star.
If they are covering his face because this is an FF6 reference and that's going to be the big reveal, I'm going to be so salty.
FF6?
I don't think it is.
I
don't think it is.
Aurasite?
I do.
So who
I
would he?
I don't know. I don't know who it would be. I don't claim to know, but I'm just saying if they're trying, if that's where they're leading us, I'm going to be pissed.
There's only one other world in the Final Fantasy multiverse where aurasite is literally used as aurasite rather than being called, some other kind of, something close to aurasite, and that is Ivalice.
Oh.
Final Fantasy 12.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Now, what's the other Ivalice reference that we have of some masterful figure who seems to know an awful lot about our history and our star? Yeah, I mean there is Zodiac. I'm thinking of a little teaser we got, a little snippet of something towards the end of 3.1, a little something that we saw in the Great Google Library being discussed from a guy named Gerun.
Yes, the Gerun Chronicles. Yeah,
who's basically the equivalent of Elidibus in Ivalice.
Okay, all right.
At the bottom of Deep Dungeon.
The thing is, we've already got Gerun's name dropped in here. We've got Oracite dropped in here, which is a very direct reference to him.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it could totally be Elidibus, but my money at the moment is that his master is Gerun.
Okay, interesting. And we do see a little bit of character development on the part of Ukulele. We see him being awkward, which we didn't really see before. We saw him being a little bit human, which I'm a little bit reluctant to use that word exactly, but it did make him seem a little bit more
like a person.
Yeah, like a
He's
person.
loosening up. He's going to let his guard down.
And
Kral's going to get in there and work him out.
And he's making mistakes too, because the entire going after Regulus ended up being a big mistake that he ends up admitting to in the end, or at least trying to kill him. And so yeah, I think that we're getting some very interesting character development, and this is probably one of the most interesting things in FF14 right now. Let's talk about the Garleans and their motivations and what they're working toward. Now, in this, Regulus was being fed information by Ukulele to get him to come out and basically walk him into this trap. But the Garlean motivation, what exactly are the Garlean motivations outside of just amassing more power? We assume that they want to amass more power.
Their motivations are very clear. They were made clear to us during the Heavensward main scenario, and it's the reason why Regula was in the Therochemical Research Facility at the same time as the Archbishop. They know about the Warring Triad. They know that containing primals is the only way to make sure that they cannot be re-summoned.
And so they're after that ability. They're after
that technology.
Yeah. Right.
Now, the thing that Unukalhai dangles in front of Regula here is something very specific. It's an therochemical formula. It's basically a philosopher's stone. It's a formula to create substance out of nothingness. It's a sort of energy matter conversion kind of thing. So that's the thing that Regula is motivated by now. That's the thing that he may or may not have gotten hold of while we were there.
Right.
But the Garlean's mission in Azazlar is to appropriate the technology that is used to bind the Warring Triad.
There we go.
Now, are they trying to release the Warring Triad, or they're just trying to get the technology?
No, they're trying to get the technology.
Yeah.
They want to be able to do that. What do they want
to use it for?
They want to be able to do that to every single primal.
Okay.
Which is a noble cause.
Because the thing is, if you kill a primal...
But that doesn't make them sound so evil.
You're right. It doesn't.
Yes,
You're right.
It's all
they're
perspective.
Not so evil.
It is.
Their shortcomings are their hubris. Again, Gaius was trying to do the right thing by, that's what he was doing with Ultima Weapon.
Right.
He was permanently containing primals. Unfortunately, that's a huge amount of power going into one man's hands that can very easily be manipulated by the forces of darkness. And that's what Final Fantasy is all about, right? It's about hubris.
Right. So I'm actually really glad that you had brought up Ultima, because you're right. Ultima had an item in there called the Heart of Sabik, which
is older than Alleg.
Right. Yeah, that is one of the most important artifacts that we know of in all of Eorzea. It is it's a black stone that is connected somehow. We don't really know how, but it's connected to Zodiark, and La Habrea had actually taken the stone and hid it within Ultima Weapon. And this is the stone that's actually used as the catalyst to be able to cast the spell Ultima. So defeating primals and storing the essence of primals in that stone is what awakens its power. La Habrea knew this and gave it to Gaius in hopes that that's what would happen. And we
first gave it to the Allergans.
Right. Yes. First, but we don't know. We don't know what happened while it was in the possession of the Allergans. There's no definitive one calamity that is assigned to the Heart of Sabik outside of possibly the Isle of Val.
Well, the thing is, the Isle of Val happened at more or less the same time as Castra Meridianum.
Right. Yeah. Because we are told of it. Urianger tells us that it happened. So, at the beginning of the storyline, the students of Baldessian, which, that's what the Isle of Val, that's who lived there. They were still there, and they were still a very much operating group on the Isle of Val. And it wasn't until it's not until this incident that Urianger tells us about that takes that the students of Baldessian and removes them from the picture, removes them from the playing board. So, and
they are the juiciest target possible for the Ascians. The point of the students of Baldessian, right, is that they're Charlans, so already the most knowledgeable people on the planet. They're a group of Charlans that have the Echo and are researching the Echo.
Right.
So they're the Charlan scions, effectively.
Right. And the thing about the Heart of Sabik is that we do know that it was activated at least with our final confrontation with Ultima, because it is casting Ultima. So we do know that the stone is active, and we do see Gaius take Ultima to defeat Titan, Ifrit, and Garuda. And then there's a bit of a time. There's a little bit of a lag between when we actually confront him at Castrum. So
so you think he might have flown off to Val? Is that what you're saying?
I think that La Habrea may have made off with the Heart of Sabik, detonated it at the Isle of Val, and actually, used the item, used Ultima there, not Ultima weapon, but used the spell Ultima there to remove Isle of Val, and then brought it back for Gaius to recharge inside Ultima. I don't know. I mean, that's my headcanon.
Just while Gaius was asleep.
Right. Yeah. Well, Gaius was fucking off doing something else. Because the thing is that Gaius didn't really have a good understanding of how Ultima worked. He didn't. He didn't know about Ultima. Yeah, I mean, we see this. He's got the Garlean hubris because he's sitting there on top of it and bragging about how it's going to be this great thing, and then he ultimately doesn't even know how to use it. It's La Habrea.
Hang on, this isn't what I signed up for.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I think that that's entirely conceivable. I also think that that's where the Isle of Val theory sort of comes from.
Well, I think that's possible. I think that's definitely possible. What I personally think is that we have a reference to Kryl, and we have a reference to Garulf Baldessian, Kryl's father, or I believe it's his grandfather.
Grandfather, I believe, yeah.
Galoof.
Now, there is one character that makes an island disappear in Final Fantasy V, and that's Exdeath.
Okay.
So there is always that.
It's interesting,
and that's always some breadcrumbs for later. So I think it's definitely possible the Eye of Sabik is involved, but I'm absolutely expecting that to be used as a way to peg in Exdeath for us in a future expansion.
Interesting. So
I got it. It's all ties together. Ukulele's master is actually Exdeath, and when you release the 3 Warring Triad, it's going to release Exdeath, and that's all I got.
Okay.
Also, Galoof is in there.
That burned out very quick.
Man, when he's right, we're gonna be mad.
Contribution.
Yeah. So what do you think the move forward in the Warring Triad is going to be like? Do you have any expectations for the Warring Triad?
Look, we were told that Regular was going to be like dramatically changed by his confrontation with us, and yet we didn't really see that, did we?
No, I don't think he was.
So I don't know. I really don't know. Again, we're all expecting to see some sort of Kefka-like figure in regular, and he's going to become power crazed or whatever. But I don't see it happening yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
A little ways to go.
I don't know.
I don't see Regulin being a Kefka analog.
No, well, you're right. I mean, in terms of a character, no, because
no.
Regula is actually really logical. Like,
yeah.
Most of the Garleans, except for maybe Nail towards the end, maybe after he got tempered, but most of them seem to be like, they don't play their hand. They don't show you all of their motivations, but they're I think, Woody, you had said they're not necessarily wrong. They're doing they're doing the right thing through the wrong means. Is what it feels like.
Regular's not even thinking about the right thing. I think Regular is the most uncomplicated of any Garleans. He just wants to impress his emperor. He's just obeying orders.
Yeah.
He's not like Gaius, who has this, this grand sort of philosophical idea. And Gaius, we know now, was a renegade. He was not in contact with the empire for a very, very long time. Was just doing his own thing.
Right.
Regular is a loyal lapdog of the emperor.
Yeah.
So he's General Leo, and he's going to join our side eventually.
Perhaps.
I could see that. You think you?
So when it eventually goes too far, and he's like, "Fuck, I don't want to be part of this anymore."
Perhaps.
I could see that. Yeah, that's pretty legit.
I just hope that as the Warring Triad goes on, I hope they use this as a way to build almost a sympathetic eye and ear towards Garlemald, because they spent the whole of 2.0 painting them out as the evil invaders.
1.0 too, yeah.
And now the more that we look at them, the more we're kind of like, is what they're doing really wrong?
Yeah.
No.
Especially because they've just been like minding their own business over there too. Like we're doing this entire thing with the Dragon Song War, and I'm the whole time I'm like, where I thought we were like in combat with them, but clearly they're doing their own thing.
Ever since Gaius' failed incursion, they've just kind of done their own thing.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I think a lot of our interactions with Gaius towards the end of 2.0 were very sympathetic and were about complicating this idea and him sort of saying, hey, this 12 that you worship, they're no fucking different from primals, and us being like, holy shit, maybe there's something in that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's already there. If you pay attention, there is already like a lot of sympathy for the Garleans.
That'd be nuts if by the end of 4.0 we're allied with the Garleans.
That would be
against like the Warriors of Darkness.
There's no way, because the Alamigo thing has got to resolve.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, but what is their purpose? If that's their main purpose is to bind primals, why are they taking over places like Alamigo, and like they were probably going to take over Charlene? Like, what was the point of all of that?
Yeah.
Well, because they're lesser races. Duh.
I mean, Charlene maybe has like a bunch of knowledge and stuff, but like, the thing is that they abandoned Charlene under the pretext that Garlane was going to invade, and then Garlemald never even came and took over. So
that's true.
There's so much knowledge in the library that Garlemald could have gotten hold of and didn't.
That's true. Although Tomcat the Lion in the chat says, we talking about the same people that destroyed Doma because they wanted freedom, genocide.
They're scumbags.
Yeah,
they committed to, well, they obviously didn't commit, but they committed to genocide against every single beast race in Eorzea in 1.0, just because they know that the beast races are capable of summoning primals. Towards the end of Final Coil, Alphino and Alizé are like, holy shit, the Garleans can never know that human beings are capable of summoning primals.
Don't you think, though, that it should have been a bigger deal to the Garleans that there was this entire religion established in Korthus and in Ishgard that was basically propped up to be able to summon a primal when the power was needed? Don't you think that would have made a bigger impact, or they would have reacted way bigger than they did? Because
I don't know if they've quite worked that out. There's no Imperial spies in Ishgard. Because Ishgard has been shut off to the Alliance for longer than the Empire has
But they were there at the Aether Chemical Research Facility. Like, they're
after something totally different. They saw what Thornton was doing as like a way in but I don't think they were really paying that much attention to it, to be honest.
And to the point of their genocide of Doma, I mean, obviously it's hard to defend, but we only have heard from the Doman survivors. We actually don't know what the Garlean's reason for going in and doing that was. We've never heard their side of it.
That's fair. We've heard from Doman traitors. Like if you play through the Ninja Quest line, the antagonist is basically the guy that sold the Domans out, the Doman rebellion out to the Empire, and you do get their side. And he's a scumbag. He's a psychopath.
Okay,
interesting.
And plus, when you're
there might be more to it, but it's not good.
And plus, when you're like stepping on anthills, like you don't really notice all the ants crushing beneath your feet. It's just, they're tiny; they don't matter.
I mean, the Garleans are very much a means to an end sort of civilization. Let's talk. Let's talk before we wrap this up, because I do want to get into some speculation here. Let's talk real quick about Fields of Glory. Now, there's actually this is an area that encompasses Camp Glory as well as Owl's Nest from 1.0. And what's interesting is that the Duty Finder identifies this area as the Eastern Highlands, which, I mean, we don't really know if that's just an error in the Duty Finder or if that this area is supposed to encompass both the Eastern Highlands and the Lowlands. I truly hope that it doesn't, because I'd really like to see the Eastern Highlands make a return in something like 4.0. So, the areas that are encompassed here are really the Lowlands. And so I think I'd like to just operate with the idea that this is the Lowlands. Like, in my head, this is where the Korthus Eastern Lowlands are, and I think that they fucked up in Duty Finder. But we are investigating a lot of Allegan ruins, and we don't know for sure whether or not these Allegan ruins came from the Calamity, because they do seem very similar to the ruins of Dalamud. But there's also, in 1.0, this moment where Nail Van Darnus went to call forth Meteor and used a bunch of ruins in Korthus Eastern Highlands. So do we know for sure whether or not these Allegan ruins are what he used to call forth Meteor, or are they impact from Dalamud?
I don't think they're impact from Dalamud. They're ruins that have been uncovered as a result of Dalamud's impact. I don't know whether they're the same as what Nail was getting into. I think that, again, the reason why they seem to be called Eastern Highlands, as far as I'm concerned, is that the lowlands are no longer low. There was such a massive change in Eorzea's geography that I think the lowlands were literally just like lifted up like several hundred meters.
Is there evidence of that in the actual Fields of Glory map?
I'm not sure. I haven't paid enough attention to it.
Because I spent a lot of time in Owl's Nest in 1.0. It was like one of my favorite places to AFK. So I would make my way there quite often. And from what I can tell, Owl's Nest, I mean, they do take liberties with the way that the zone is laid out, but Owl's Nest seems in relative fashion just destroyed. It's not. It doesn't seem like there's been any sizable upheavals of earth or anything like that, and it seems fairly positioned where you would assume that it would be. So I mean, I don't know that there are context clues for something like that, but it's an interesting theory. My headcanon that I really like is that it is actually the Korthus Eastern Lowlands, and that we will get the Korthus Eastern Highlands as player housing, because player housing is assigned a space on the map. That whether it's the Mist or whatever it is, that is actually a spot on the overall nation map. So I think it would be interesting if they decided to put player housing in the Eastern Highlands. Where else could they put Korthus player housing? Because they've talked about doing Korthus.
We know we're
player
getting
housing.
apartments.
Yeah.
We know we're getting apartments, and it's going to be more like an instance thing. So
Did they
I'm
say that was specific to Korthus, or did they say? Because I thought that was just an.
I believe so.
I thought that was just a housing item or a housing type that we were getting
I think that's going to be specifically what we're seeing in Ishgard, and I'm expecting that to be a zone like in the city.
Okay.
Maybe like another manor district that we go to, and we're going to be renting space in those manors.
Sure.
But I'd love to see Eastern Lowlands becoming populated.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome because it's a lot greener than the rest of Kurthus.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be the ideal place to set up.
The one thing that I haven't found that I should spend some time in Fields of Glory trying to find is I have not found where the bridge is, because we've got the bridge that exists. That's in fact the bridge where you confront Gilgamesh on. That should be visible somewhere from that map, which would help me orient myself a little bit better. All right, so let's move on from this. Let's talk a little bit about speculation.
Sure.
First, I want to, because I think this is a great place to speculate for 4.0, but I also really specifically want to speculate for patch 3.4 because this is the definitive end of the Dragonsong War, and I'm curious.
Right.
I'm curious where you guys think that we're going to push in a narrative sense forward from here. So, what do you guys expect we'll see with patch 3.4?
For me, I think it's Warriors of Darkness. That's where we're going from here. I feel like the Warring
They've been
Triad is going to
ignored for the last two patches.
Yeah, I feel like the Warring Triad is going to continue to kind of be like the off thing that's going on.
Sure.
And then Warriors of Darkness is where the focus will be, because I don't think they're going to do a lot towards Alamigo until like the 3.55 equivalent.
Okay. Because, I mean, for as much as we haven't spent time with the Warriors of Darkness, we also haven't spent any time with Yida and Paplamo, who we know are embedded in the Alamigan Resistance. So, I think that you're probably right that the next patch will be focused on Warriors of Darkness. Do you think that the Warriors of Darkness are really going to be a short-lived threat, like a one-patch threat?
Oh, I hope not.
No.
I mean, they've built him up. They've built him up so much bigger than that it's got to be something more satisfying than that.
Dude, one-shot Ravana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're like super OP.
Yeah. So,
and plus they're all cool in black.
So, but I'm curious though, like, where's our hook to getting into Alamigo? Is that only just linking back up with Yida and Paplamo, or
and Garlemald?
No, our hook getting into Alamigo is with Ilbert and Raubon.
And Vidergelt.
Who?
The monk NPC who's most definitely the prince of Alamigo. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if he's definitely the prince of Alamigo, but he is
definitely the prince.
It's so definitely obvious. What I will tell you is that he's definitely going to be 4.0's Justinian.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow, my hype level for 4.0 just dropped like a freaking rock.
So we haven't seen much from the Asians lately. They are also being very quiet. The last time we saw them was at the Aether Chemical Research Facility.
Last time they poked their head out, we bit it off, didn't we?
That's right. We've seen Elidibus making some moves behind the scenes. We're not totally sure what his motivations are, but he seems to be motivated by something other than what the other Asians are motivated by. Do you have any theories, Ethys, for what exactly motivates Elidibus and what exactly his end game is?
I think Elidibus has been literally feeding us.
Okay.
I think Elidibus loves seeing us defeat more and more powerful primals, so we become more and more powerful. And basically, he's raising the stakes every time these fights are escalating. It's now every single primal we fight at the moment is like a calamity waiting to happen. Thornton could have been a calamity could have Efreet have been a calamity? No, not a chance.
Right.
Sephiroth.
I think Sephiroth exactly could have been a calamity easily.
Yeah.
I think that Elidibus is feeding us the Warriors of Darkness.
Interesting theory.
To what end, though?
Yeah.
To what end? To the end of chaos and mayhem and lots of etheric explosions and
he would be
maybe us.
He would be putting the power in our hands, and then we would have to. He would also have to manipulate us to use it in an irresponsible or a way that he would want. Do you think his motivations are different than the other Ascians, or do you think that he's literally after the same thing that they are? Because
he's after the same goal. He's after this whole dimensional collapse, making the world whole again, whatever it is that they want to call it. He's after absolutely the same thing. He's just got different means.
But am I crazy, or have there been conversations between Ascians about Elidibus where they're not sure what his motivations are?
No, they're not sure about him.
Okay,
absolutely not.
So then, I mean, it just... That whole thing really sets me up to think that he's somehow screwing over both sides, that there's going to be a double cross and that he's out for himself, but I don't know to what end. You know, like, for those who are Evangelion fans, it's sort of like, what's the difference between Gendo's motivations and Sele's motivations? They're both trying to end the world, but they're doing it for entirely different reasons. Gendo's trying to reunite with his wife. Sele is this huge clandestine organization that just wants all of us to turn into Tang. So, you know, I'm just trying to figure out, like, is Elidibus... Does he have a different end game than the other Ascians?
I think all the Ascians, they have slightly different ideas of what it is that Zodiac wants and what it is that this Zodiac wants, I should say, and what it is that this end game looks like. But the way I think of Elidibus, particularly after what we've seen has happened to Minfilia's word of the mother, Elidibus' word of the father. That's what I think.
Okay, all right, I can see that.
I've got it.
It's a bit Jungian. I like that, though.
He's trying to build us up, so eventually we're going to have to choose between saving Minfilia and separating her from the Mother Crystal. But in doing so, we'll like shatter the Mother Crystal and break Hydaelyn. And then we have to make the choice between saving Minfilia or breaking Hydaelyn.
Interesting.
Well, I think what's interesting about the Ascians and how they're kind of... I think they are very much having the same issues that we have with Hydaelyn, where we try our best to understand what she wants, but none of us are exactly sure. So we all take it in different directions. I think the Ascians very much have the same problem with Zodiac in that they don't have a clear definition of what his goal is for them.
Sure.
And the chat is talking about what I was thinking too, is that they literally hinted at Urianger talking with the Ascians, twice, and then have totally dropped that.
Yeah.
So, what the heck is that about?
Yeah. I mean, and that's a good point too. Is that Elidibus is, working with or possibly trying to manipulate Urianger and subsequently the Scions. So there's a lot at play. All right, let's look ahead to 4.0. I was going to throw Omega in there as well, but I have this feeling that we won't see Omega for a long time. Yeah. And that
really?
Do you really think that we could see Omega brought back in 3.x?
So who was after Omega originally? Toledo Adelegi.
Right.
He's dead.
Yeah.
He was working directly under Trelegy.
The other
Olorito?
Ilbert.
Yeah. Or Ilbert.
Ilbert.
Okay.
Ilbert was.
Okay.
What is the only thing that Ilbert cares about? The only reason he worked with Toledo Adelegi
reclaiming
Alamigo's
power.
So you
reclaim Alamigo. He's one of the only people that know anything about Omega Weapon. He's disappeared off to God knows where. I'm quite certain that Ilbert's going to make a play for Omega Weapon. He's going to want to use Omega Weapon to annex Alamigo, to liberate Alamigo.
Good theory. I like that. Good theory. So we are for 4.0. Let's speculate a little bit for 4.0. We're getting our push to Alamigo. We kind of already said where we think from a narrative perspective that will go. Also, Alamigo and the northeast section of the continent is the only place where we get even a hint of our next continent. Which is I don't actually remember the name of the continent offhand, but Garlemald is up to the
Ilsabard.
Ilsbard, thank you.
The central continent, yes.
So we're looking at pushing that way. Will we actually get to see the beginning of that continent, or do you think that we're just going to finish out Eorzea?
I think we'll see a border. I think we may see a sort of contested zone on that border. Definitely. The thing we got to realize about Alamigo, right, is that they were conquered over 25 years ago now. A whole generation of Alamegans have grown up under imperial rule. They're not like they're not how we sort of think of them. It's not an occupied city. It is a fully it's a Garland city now.
Right. Yeah.
So it's Garland territory. So when we're moving into Alamigo, we are moving into the Garland Empire.
Okay. All right. That's fair. So there's a lot of possible zones that we could see with 4.0. There's a lot of places that have names. They've had names assigned to them that are inaccessible. So let's talk about the possibility of this. We've already sort of talked about Korthus Eastern Highlands and what could be there. But and this is one that people bring up a lot from from 1.0 to 2.0. But we've also got the Western Shroud, which was destroyed in the Calamity, and it's actually got this big, huge aspected ether chunk, sort of like what you see around the entrance to Binding Coil, that is ostensibly the entire zone.
Well, it's because a massive shard of Dalamud fell on it, and it just obliterated. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there.
Except the shard. Except that shard is there. You can see that shard. You can see the Aether. And I would think that this would be a location that would be right for a dungeon.
Yes, definitely for a dungeon.
Perfect for a dungeon. So that's my opinion. I'd love to see
more
West
elegant dungeons. Yay!
No, but I mean, like even the run up, navigating the Aether, I think would be very cool, and it would give some closure about people who, what happened to West Shroud? Well, here you go.
Here you go. It's busted.
What
you
about
want to know what
Doma?
happened? Shroud, go to the North Shroud, look west. It's a fucking crater.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't actually. Doma is not listed on the overworld map. Like on the bigger map, we don't know where
it's miles away.
Yeah,
there's an entire continent between us and Doma.
Yeah, so I'm
that far?
Yeah. So I'm thinking more in terms of what we have on the map that is named that we have to play with. So I think the most obvious, the biggest region up to the north is the Zelphatol region, which is mostly mountainous. There's a lot of mountains that exist up there. What kind of lore exists for Zelphatol? Because that name is tossed all over items and stuff.
Yes. Okay. So Zelphatol is where the Ixal originally found themselves after they presumably escaped from Azazlar, and that's where they began their sort of Garuda worship. Those are, it is part of Ablathia's spine by the looks of it, and like you say, a lot of canyons. It's possible that it's the same part of Ablathia's spine where the Hellsguard Rogadens are. I'm fully expecting to see that sooner or later. We know the Hellsguard Rogadens are native to some part of Ablathia's spine, and they live in these sort of volcanic regions, and they treat volcanoes as like portals to the underworld, and they sort of defend them. So we might expect to see a little bit of that in Zelphatol, but we don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest.
Do we have any inkling what might pull us to the Zelphatol region? Has there been anything that's led us think that we would go there?
No. Not
okay.
really.
Yeah,
not really.
I didn't.
Other than that, it's in the right direction.
Okay, so basically just its location on the map.
It could be because of the geography of it, because it's all these, kind of canyon mazes and stuff like that, presumably. It could be a sort of right kind of staging area for the Alamegan resistance. It could be where they're operating, pushing into Girabanya, because Girabanya is effectively like the Mongolian steppes. It's like big open plains, and I couldn't really see the resistance moving through that very easily.
Let me tell you what I would actually like to see out of this region, because you're right. With it being so mountainous, I would like to see a zone that is done sort of like the old school, the 1.0 Black Shroud. I know that a lot of people didn't like that, and it didn't make sense for a zone that was also like a starter zone that was like right outside of a city. It really didn't. Yeah. Like it was, but it was a well-designed zone. Like in terms of the visual presentation, the way that it ran on the hardware, the way that you kind of had to make your way through and sort of deduce where you were on the map. I mean, like there was a lot of similarities between that and something like the jungle in FF11.
Are you talking about 4.0 Yatunga jungle?
Yeah, and so I think that a zone design of that nature now, 2 expansions later, is something, and especially if it's an optional zone or whatever, that would probably be a good addition. Now, how that would work with flying, I don't have any fucking clue.
Are you expecting 4.0 will also see continuation of flying as well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't think that they'd end up
particularly when you look at Girabanya, and you look at the fact that the Alamegan cavalry were griffin mounted. That's where the griffins come from.
Gotcha. So, all right, let's talk about Alamigo. This is ostensibly where we think we're going to be pushing throughout the next expansion. And it is a city-state that, as Ethys had identified earlier, is currently occupied by the Garleans. So if we're looking for a place that is not going to be our base of operations, that is not going to be the city-state that our characters hang out in when, we're AFK or idle, it's definitely not going to be Alamigo. I think that if there is going to be a contested zone, and I think it would be kind of cool to see like server-wide PvE events, that Alamigo would be the center of that conflict.
I feel like it'll be tough to have a like flat out contested zone like that, because like Ethys said, it's been 25 years since this takeover happened. I feel like if like the resistance there, they have to be mobile. They can't have set up shop somewhere.
Well, but you've got the
you know what would make them mobile? Dragons.
Yeah. But you've got the resistance, but you've also got, I think if they built up a conflict that is, large scale, where you could, from a narrative standpoint, it would make sense to have battles.
I can totally see it happen.
Along the line of campaign battles. Then I think that would be a really fun addition.
Here's what would be interesting. What if at the beginning of this storyline, like the new Eorzean Alliance decides like we're going to take the fight to Alamigo, and you march in there with your Eorzean army and set up a base in there, and that's your starting city?
I mean, we could see something like that. We did see some stuff, some ideas like that with Seekers of Alduin. I don't, but I think from a narrative standpoint, you have to have an ongoing conflict that's there, the contested zone, to be able to have this worldwide PvE, or else the consequence of that would be that you have to find a way to resolve it, and that the PvE event would end. So it's either got to be a conflict that is ongoing, similar to the dragon conflict that we have, or they have to resolve it, which I don't think that they're going to do, both from a game structural standpoint and from a narrative standpoint. So
I'm more curious though, like Ethys was saying that because it's been so long and an entire generation has grown up, the city's no longer occupied, the city just belongs to the Empire. And I can't help but wonder that, with Raubon and Vidergelt like leading this charge into Alamigo, if we're like the people of Alamigo are going to be like, what the fuck, we don't want you here.
Most of Gaius's legion, most of the 14th Legion were made up of Alamegan citizens.
There you go. That I had forgotten about that.
But I just wonder, like, the people who are currently living in Alamigo, like, we haven't had anyone leave Alamigo since the takeover has
Not
become...
many of them. No, not many. There's been a few.
So you're wondering if we're going to be seen as invaders or liberators?
Yeah, we're going to be invaders or liberators.
Actually, that's a really good question because
it's going to be complicated.
Yeah, if you take the dynamic as it exists now, if we're helping out the Doman resistance, we're helping out Ilberd, which I think that is a huge conflict for us as the player character because of our allegiance both to Ul'dah and to One Arm
Raban.
Yeah, there you go.
One Arm Magoo.
Old One Arms.
Yeah. Old single.
Now, one thing I think is definitely worth noting that could have massively changed the dynamic in Alamigo, despite it have been fairly stable for the last 25 years, is the fact that we've literally just come through an imperial civil war. We got a new emperor. He's pretty fucking insane.
Yeah.
And that would have definitely affected these outlying territories. Alamigo was ostensibly cut off from the rest of Garlemald, from the capital,
and I wonder if they hear about things like in Doma, like they hear Domans resist and they got burned to the ground. Like I wonder if people in Alamigo are hearing that, as like an example. So they're like, "Fuck, we can't resist because that's going to happen to us."
So do
you
think
get the people who escaped when it first happened, but like since the takeover's been established, you don't get many people leaving.
That's true. But what I'm saying is that I think their conditions in the city would have been made far worse as a result of the Imperial Civil War. And I think there might be dissent about that as much, if not more, than about the original invasion 25 years ago.
So do you think that before the end of 3.x, there will be some kind of major shakeup in Alamigo that would not necessarily, like, obviously we're going to be prompted to go over there, but something like we had the major event at the end of 2.55 that caused us to flee to Ishgard as refugees.
Right.
Is there going to be some kind of major shakeup in Alamigo where we're just like,
we have to go.
It's time to go take Alamigo back. Why are we like?
Yeah, why now?
What is going to be the catalyst that says why now of this all these times?
What if Ilberd goes, takes it over and does something terrible, and now Ilberd and the Resistance are the ones that are seated inside of Alamigo? So we're not even conflicting with the Garleans yet. We're conflicting with the Resistance that just took back Alamigo by being dicks.
I really like the idea that Garleans are like this huge big empire, but every time like we're in a new expansion, they just get backseated to someone else.
Because they're doing their own thing, and I feel like they're going to come out of nowhere eventually and just be this huge force because we're kind of ignoring them and we're just kind of letting them be.
Yeah. There is going to be an expansion where it's like the Garleans do reemerge as the primary threat of the world, and we're just like, oh crap.
So we've got a couple of islands that are located off of the eastern shore of Eorzea that we could see make a appearance in 4.0. We've got Theori Island.
I want you to have another look at your map there, because I know what you're looking at, and that's not Theory Island. That is the Pearl.
The Pearl.
The Pearl.
Okay.
The black one or the white one?
Boo. Boo. Boo.
What is the Pearl?
Shame.
The Pearl. That's the name of the island.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to read it off of a poorly translated map, probably from 1.0. So there is that. But okay, fine. We'll go with the Pearl then. Am I supposed to be the one translating Eorzean too? Like, is that? Am I supposed to have that skill? I don't remember learning that.
You're the cartographer. We have Eorzean geography on the podcast.
So all right,
you are the not silent cartographer.
So the Pearl, it is located in the Jade Sea, which is south of Gwyn Abanya. Yeah, but we don't know much about it. Don't really know.
No, we don't know anything about it.
Don't know anything about it. Same thing with what is that? Maslava Island.
Maslaya? Yeah, we've got we know like certain things are native to Maslaya. There's I think there's like some kind of mint,
spinach. I think
spinach or something. Yeah. We oh yes, and there's pineapples. We know that Maslaya is very sparsely populated. There doesn't seem to be any major settlement there.
But it is populated, though. It
is popular. There's a shitload of chocobos there.
Yeah.
Apparently there's like some kind of chocobo ranch.
Wait, so it's not the Mikote homeland?
No. No, it's not.
that's Mericidia.
Yeah, that's to the south. We don't even see that on the...
Yeah.
Man, 9 more expansions of hoping we get to go there.
And then
like 11 never getting there.
Yep, it's FF11 all over again.
Well, and then we've also got this entire eastern region to Thanalan that hasn't been expanded. We only get maybe 2/3 of that lower portion of the landmass there, and all of the eastern part, that coast, is all blocked off from us. It's I've read that it's assumed to be volcanic. I don't know where that theory comes from. But it is an area that we don't know much about. We haven't had access there, even going back as far as 1.0.
Well, I mean, we've been there. We have been there. It's where the Bowl of Embers is.
Technically, it's also where the Gold Saucer is too. So yeah, we've been there in very, very small chunks.
Yes.
But I think it would be interesting to have the rest of that continent, the rest of that landmass, explorable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and there's also, I mean, the way that they put up the invisible wall in the sand dunes on the east side of Thanalan was always really unsatisfying to me.
Yeah. It's 2011 or 2012 and we're seeing invisible walls in our game.
Yeah.
2012.
I don't know. When that came out, right? 2012? Something like that? 2013?
Something.
But it was so cool to be able to see the gold saucer in the distance before we actually could go there.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So the names of these islands coming up is really interesting to me.
Yeah. Seydialis? How do you look at it?
I look at Seedales.
Seedales. Okay.
Seedales,
All right.
yeah.
So this is an island chain in... It's basically south of Limsa and west of Thanalan. And I don't know... I don't know how much hope I have to see these islands as a part of 4.0, but they are islands that have been referenced, such as Hopesborn, Loxley, and Turtleback Island. We've been
to one of them.
Yeah. Which one did we go to?
Hellbreaker Isle is in the Seedales.
Oh, is it?
Yes. The normal mode Hellbreaker Isle, the first time we go there, we have several mobs named, Seedales, Wasp, Seedales.
You're right. Yeah.
Whatever it is, Seedales, Buttfucker, I don't know.
That was a tough fight.
The gorillas.
Yeah, that was a tough fight. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Seedales, Poop Flinger.
Yep.
Yeah, they were good.
Pain in my ass.
So they're those sort of subtropical islands.
So
again, there's not like a whole lot of settlement and stuff there.
No, but there is a lot of space. Like it is a pretty sizable landmass that exists. So we could end up seeing more out of that. But I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would just like to see from 4.0. All I really, really want is to have the completed continent of Eorzea. That's what I really want. That's my only hope for 4.0.
I think that if we don't have the completed continent of Eorzea explorable by the end of 4.0, it won't ever be explorable. I think as much as we're going to get of Eorzea, we're going to get by the end of 4.0.
Yeah, I agree. But one of the reasons that I wanted to mention the two islands that exist in the eastern part of the continent is I actually think that may be a much more likely candidate for your civilization, for your the city that we build up, your Idleshire, your your Mordona.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
And that the either the resistance or whatever we're spearheading, that effort is being launched off of one of the islands in that cluster. And this is just I'm excited to see the eastern part of the continent. The farthest east that we've gotten is the Shroud, and there is a lot more, especially to the north there. And as we start getting into Garlemald territory as well. And I'm excited. I think one of the most interesting things about 14 is the world that they create, and just how how big it is and how fun it can be to explore. So, what are you guys hoping for in 4.0 from like a lore or story perspective?
I think having the Alamigo City actually be a contested zone throughout the entire expansion and be somewhere that's like basically a Garlean stronghold that you have to constantly infiltrate for quests or whatever.
Okay.
That would actually be really interesting and a lot cooler than
It would be cool, but are you not assuming then at the end of 4.x we're going to completely liberate it? Because then if that's the case, like you can't still have a contested zone.
No, I don't think we will. I don't think
it can remain contested. It can remain contested.
Yeah. I don't think you have to take back Alamigo to be able to give resolution to the refugees. I just don't. I mean, I think that there's a bunch of different things from a narrative standpoint that you can do with the Alamigan refugees that is very similar to the way that it works in life. There are refugees all over the place, and they come from terrible places and terrible conditions, and a lot of times they can just never go back. And they can never go back. And they have to live with that for the rest of their life. It's 2 generations before they can go back to the place that they came from. And that's, I think that wrestling with that reality would be a really interesting theme for this expansion. We saw I think in Heavensward we saw the consequences of bigotry, right? Like this was all closed-minded hatred for something that you didn't know, didn't understand. And I think that if those are the themes that FF14 wants to explore, and I think that it is, because that's what they've been exploring the entire time, that, the question about refugees, about homeland, about ownership of land, I think that these are going to be really interesting themes for Square Enix to explore. And I think that they're going to be important stories for us to experience because, a lot of us have no idea what that experience is like. A lot of us have no idea what being a refugee would be like or what being ousted from your home would be like. I mean, it's a fascinating idea. So, I quite like that.
Shit just got real.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm just expecting, because like we were saying, like Ethys was saying, Vitorgel, I've always theorized is going to be like the next Justinian. I'm pretty sure I said that way back in one of our old theory episodes.
Oh, no doubt.
And I want more, like I love Monk. It's my favorite DPS, and I love the lore behind Alamigo and with the Monk factions and stuff, and I think it's so interesting, and I just want more of that fleshed out. That's my hope.
Well, my question is, though, did you feel satisfied with the amount of focus that Dragoon got out of Heavensward? Because, we thought...
Dude, if Monk is that much focus, I'm going to be so happy.
Well,
Monk deserves that much focus, even though they're, basically all dead.
Well, I mean...
And I know that they've... kind of like making that faction with the, different chakras and stuff. And
exactly.
Like making a better group of people than the original Monks.
Alamigo as the Dragoons are to Ishgard.
Nika, having played Dragoon and just coming out of Ishgard, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be disappointed with how much of that focus is actually there. Because, like, when you think about the Ishgard storyline, they talk about dragons and stuff like that. There's not actually a ton of focus on Dragoons. You see them a lot, but they don't actually explore Dragoons very much.
I guess, but you do learn a lot about how the original Azure Dragoons started and how the Dragon War started with the Dragoons. I feel like there's a lot of that history that would be so cool to be explored with Monk because we know about the factions that overthrew their king and all that. And I think it'd be so cool to kind of continue.
All right.
But I feel like that just limits the scope of Dragoon to the Azure Dragoon, and there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, I think that I think that's fair. I think when you pin down things concretely, that it sort of limits the.
I feel more limited coming out of the Ishgard story. Like,
yeah, I could see how you feel that too.
I think my shoot the moon goal for 4.0 is whether even if it's just like a duty or a fate or something, some sort of incursion into the Garlean capital.
I agree.
Any kind of incursion that lets us see the inside of the Garlean capital.
Yeah, even a dungeon. I think
a dungeon. I don't. Anything.
I would love, especially because this would be thematically appropriate. I would love the idea of an event that was like tactical incursions into Garlemald, where you're setting booby traps or explosions, or like it suddenly you have this FF7 avalanche.
But we're not invading Garlemald.
Look, let's not forget here. I need to remind you guys here that we are having a feature very, very soon where we're going to be training and playing alongside Grand Company members. You want to make incursions against Garlemald, you're going to have the Grand Company next to you. I don't see why they couldn't use this feature.
I totally agree. And it would be a great addition, in terms of content, to be able to have assault style things that aren't dungeons. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that it opens it up for more things that are kind of like, in a design sense, more like deep dungeon. So yeah, I think the possibility of that is very cool. Woody, we missed what you said. What did you say?
I believe we did something like that in 1.0, where when we went into Mordona, there was it was like that kind of like a maze where we had to fight the vanguards and waves of troops. We actually invaded their area. I think we could do that again in 4.0.
Yeah. I do remember that very vaguely.
I think we had to farm for some items.
There was a campaign like behest sort of thing that happened in those zones that definitely felt like we were defending and fighting into Kurthus a little farther. And
interesting.
Mordona. I just feel like there was definitely some kind of like outposty type of area that we were fighting at.
Yeah.
No, you know what I want?
What do you want?
Shoot the moon. I want to be able to drop my Grand Company and ally with the Garlemald. Because you know what? A lot of that shit they say, that makes sense. We need to control these primal's, not kill them.
Well, can't say that I totally disagree.
There was a time in the 2.0 storyline where I was ready to quit and join the Garleans. I was like, screw you people.
Fair enough.
And we all die. And we need to subjugate the lesser races.
Ethys Asher, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
We really appreciate your time. We did not actually mean to keep you this entire time, but we are.
I meant to.
We really.
No, I mean, if I'm going to be up, like, I may as well be,
Fair enough. But we really do appreciate your time. We know that it's a weird hour for you. YouTube.com/Ethys Asher. Make sure you go subscribe to his videos if you want an even more in-depth look at the lore of Eorzea. This is the place to get it. YouTube.com/Ethys Asher. Ethys, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Ethys, we're going to hang out at FanFest, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You kidding me? Definitely.
He's crossing his fingers.
Dude, I'm so excited that you're going to be in Vegas. We're gonna party right, and it's going to be awesome, man. Can't wait to hang out with you.
Yeah, this is my first like sort of con event that I've been to, because this kind of thing doesn't happen in Australia, so you guys have no fucking idea how excited I am.
Right. Oh, I can imagine, and I mean that's some dedication, putting down the money to come all the way to Vegas for that. Ethys, man, it's been great having you on the show. We can't wait to see you out at FanFest. All the best to you. Again, youtube.com/Ethys Asher. Thanks so much for your time today.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, so we've only got about 9 minutes left in the program before we wrap up here. Let's read a couple of emails.
Yeah.
Who wants to read our first one here?
I'll take one since I haven't been here in a while.
Yeah.
All right, so the first one from Burning Skull of Gilgamesh says, "Hey LBR, I don't think the game needs a level skip potion, as everyone has already said leveling is easy to do, but how would you feel about unlock options? For instance, the biggest complaint I heard was that people really wanted to play the new jobs right out of the gate. I myself thought it was stupid to have level 30 jobs locked behind level 50 plus content. So say someone bought Heavensward because they really wanted to play Dark Knight, would you have a problem with them paying a few extra dollars to be able to play Dark Knight or any other job that comes out at level 1 right from the get-go?"
Kinda, yeah.
I wouldn't. If they want to play it from level 1 and start right there, I wouldn't even make you pay extra. I'd be like, fine. It's just a new job that's in the game. Enjoy.
I don't know why
but it's tied to the lore of Ishgard.
Because I feel like the jobs didn't function properly below 30.
Okay, well, you still have to fight at level below 30 when you're in a dungeon.
You know what? You're kind of right.
Of course I'm right. I'm Juxta.
Right. Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah, that's a 1-to-1 correlation.
But you know, outside of the job unlock thing, I've been talking with some newbies in the novice chat, and some of their complaints are literally just that there's a lot of fetch quest bullshit filler in the MSQ.
We all knew that, though. We all went through the fetch quest bullshit.
I know, but I feel like at this point, instead of doing a story skip, couldn't they just condense some of the bullshit?
I agree. No, you're
definitely.
right. I totally.
I was talking to this guy and he's like, yeah, the story's so awesome, but the biggest thing is when you have the defeater of God, savior of the world, getting someone's laundry.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
No, I totally agree with that, and I would be way less opposed to the idea of easing the requirements, upping the XP that comes out of the MSQ, dropping some of the pointless MSQ shit, and really using that as your way to move your character forward.
Dude,
I have no problem with that. When they announced the XP bonuses for the MSQ, I don't have a problem with that shit.
I do.
All it is just easing the requirements, and that's okay.
No, fuck you.
No, saying pay $15 and you can skip the whole thing in a double click, that's
dumb.
That is unacceptable.
I remember a point in it's like 2.2 or 2.3 where literally you're about to go do bitch work. The game knows you're about to go do bitch work, and even like the NPCs, like they have the NPCs say like they feel stupid asking you to go do that. Like we're really sorry that we're asking. Like okay, then don't ask me.
Yeah,
I'm the Warrior of Light. I have better shit to do.
Yeah, they could cut those down.
You know what the Warrior of Light is? Humble. He goes and does your laundry. He goes and collects your bear asses and your wine and your cheese, because that's what the Warrior of Light does. He helps the people.
All right, let's take another email here.
Unfortunately, the other way to solve the hating problem is...
This is from Firefox, by the way. Thank you, Firefox, for the email.
Unfortunately, the other way to solve the hating problem is to revamp the entire storyline like what ARR did. Changing the story so new players can't even experience the old story, but instead a new one that fast-forwards them through the story or makes it not necessary at all.
No, Nika just pointed it out. Cut the bullshit.
Yeah.
Cut the bullshit.
And the problem is they even added more, because I'm doing it on my alt, and there's actually quests now that say you need to go talk to this person in the novice hall. So there's even like more quests to lead you to the new stuff. So they really should just cut down on the BS crap.
Yeah, I agree.
Like just lead you from one story event to the other. There's no reason why we can't do that.
Because we want the new players, to skip the novice hall. No, like that gives you that 30% ring.
Jackson, shut up.
Okay,
but I feel like all the cutscenes and stuff stay intact, but you skip all the bullshit in between. Like the stupid ones where you're making a feast for someone and you're getting their laundry and you know all the bullshit. Like
yeah, the stupid fetch questy shit. Yeah.
Okay, well,
that makes sense.
Yeah, you should leave in the novice hall.
No, I agree with that.
I never said that, Juxa.
You just said it. You added shit like that.
No, I said when they add stuff like that, they need to cut back on the other stuff, because all it's doing is making it longer. So if you're adding more, cut back on the other shit we don't need anymore.
That makes sense.
I didn't say cut out the novice hall. I said if you're going to add quests, you have to take away from somewhere else to balance it.
Making the storyline so linear from 2.0 to 3.0 was actually kind of a problem for future expansions. It takes literally days, maybe weeks, to complete the storyline in 2.0 before you can even experience the first parts of Heavensward.
Good! It's a fucking MMO. Have it take days. That's not a problem. If you're complaining about that, then you're playing the wrong genre of video game. You're playing the wrong genre. Period.
11 had a good storyline, and yet every expansion was separate and didn't need the others to complete any one. 11 was built very differently.
Very differently.
The problem is really for new players here. The storyline is awesome, but having to spend that much time to experience it before being able to play with your others who you joined for is insane. If the storyline was shorter, that would be fine, but it's so fucking long.
That's not true.
It's really not.
Because if you want to play with the people you joined to play with, they can easily run dungeons with you, which is what you'd be doing in Heavensward anyway.
Yeah.
Like the only thing you're not doing is endgame raid content, and who cares if you're a new player?
Basically all that says to me is wah, my friends are doing stuff without me. They
can still do stuff with you.
They can. And the thing is that I feel like the people who are actually upset or pissed about this they should be pissed at their friends. They should be pissed at their shitty friends for not going back and helping them out or going through dungeons. If you feel like you're doing it alone, you probably are, because your friends are fucking off doing something else. And you know what? You're not sitting around and blaming them, are you? You're sitting around and blaming Square Enix when you should be blaming them, because there's absolutely nothing Nothing that prevents them from experiencing any of the content with you or going through any of the content with you. So I'm sorry that this is not a structural change that is justifiable at all in any way, shape, or form. So I don't want to fucking hear. I hate this argument. It takes too long. I don't want to hear it. You're playing an MMO.
You're in it for the long haul.
It's supposed to take a long time. It's like somebody, dude. You can pick apart any game mechanic like that, but the investment of time is a cornerstone of MMOs. It has to be, because the way you make your money is month-over-month subscriptions. You've got to extend that content for long enough. Square Enix has a serious problem where they don't extend the content for long enough. And they're going to start seeing fall off on the back end. They're going to start seeing fall off in between patches. If they haven't already, I guarantee you that they have. Guarantee you. I mean, we see the server populations. It's true. It's 100% true. So I don't think that that's the problem. I think, again, easing the requirements gets the job done. Double clicking to get through it is bullshit. Let's take our last email here. Hey, LBR crew. This is Rain Mizuchi here. I recently joined your server as well as your LS and FC. Welcome to the LP Army. Me and my friend were talking a while ago about possible new classes for 4.0. I think Rune Fencer should be a new tank with a spin on pure fighting class with magical abilities to give allies weapons elemental power. My friend thinks red mages should come back, but I see no point since black mage can use white magic skills, so it doesn't count as a red mage in the same way. What do you guys think? Laser Beam Raptor for life. Thank you, Rain, for that email. We appreciate it.
I'd like a tank with some buff features. That'd be cool.
You know, it's interesting because when everyone saw Ilberd, they were like, oh, he's doing end spells. But, with what Rain laid out there, Rune Fencer could work in that same way, too.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have to have Samurai be the tank.
Well, we wouldn't have to have Red Mage.
Should be the DPS.
We wouldn't have to have Red Mage at all. I mean, I do think that he lays out a kind of compelling point there that because black mages can already use white magic spells, what's the point?
Well, I imagine red mage would be a DPS on par with bard or machinist, where you would have spells like a black mage, but you would have a few party buffs.
No, I get that. And I also understand that red mages traditionally have been mostly about buffing the party. But I think that he does bring up a good point that, red mages thematically in Final Fantasy have been mages that can use both black and white magic. But because that aspect exists already, is that not redundant having red mage in there as well? I understand that it'll have its own set of rotations and spells and abilities, but I'm talking from a purely thematic standpoint. Doesn't the nature of Eorzea already sort of subvert the idea or the necessity for a red mage in general?
I say no, because you can do that in like Final Fantasy V already, and you can have a black mage who subs white magic, and isn't that already red mage as well? So
I mean, it kind of is.
It kind of is.
But it doesn't have buffs in the same way.
I mean, it's not exactly the same, but I
think it would be cool if red mage was a DPS that had buffs and also had like one decent cure spell.
I think it's
so they could supplement the healer.
I think
give the healer more time to DPS. I think that'd be cool.
Would it be important for them to use their sword?
I mean, especially if they're DPS, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
I say like black mage is DPS, but they don't melee.
That's true.
I think that red mage, like what I've been thinking is that they are literally a melee class that uses magic swords and end spells to do magic damage from close range.
And they also have a rotation. Like, that's the thing, is that every job in this game has a rotation, and I just don't feel like red mage ever really fits with the idea of a rotation.
Oh, I could see one. Like, you use an end spell, you use a couple different rotations, and depending on the end spell you use, you get different moves and different rotations.
But yet you're also paying attention to HP bars to pop off an errant heal.
You're not a healer because there is still 2 healers in your party. You are just, in case the healers are like, oh fuck shit, you can throw a cure on.
Yeah, but that's a wasted ability though. That could be an ability put towards your rotation, and instead they're going to give you cure.
It could be, but what if you're using it on yourself and now the healer doesn't have to pay as much attention to you?
And so a self-heal.
A self-heal.
Kind of like second wind.
I mean,
I think,
like a self-heal that's actually worth popping.
It could be, yeah. It wouldn't be a global cooldown spell. I think it would be like a second wind you can use on other players.
If you're gonna have red mage as a DPS, I kind of see it more like the ninjas in 11 doing the elemental wheel with their end spells. Like you attack with your ice one, it makes it weak to fire or whatever.
But at that point, again, and Rain brings up a really good point. But at that point, why not just call it Rune Fencer? Because what's the difference?
I agree. I would call it.
The difference is that red mage is more of a traditional class that people love and people don't care about.
That is true. That is true. But if they do that, then I think we all have to concede that they're just trying to play to our nostalgia.
Yeah,
well,
I think I would call it Spell Fencer, if anything, or what did they call it in Bravely Default? Mystic Knight.
Mystic Knight.
I would call it Mystic Knight.
I know Yoshi's really likes red mages too. But
yeah,
he said that he doesn't think it would fit into.
Well,
I think at it in the hidden room or whatever in the anniversary event.
Oh, but at the same time, though, I think he was saying that mostly about the role of a
hybrid.
A hybrid.
Job.
Yeah, I don't think he was saying that about red mage specifically.
Oh, you summer children! If you think red mage could be anything but a healer, oh honey, honey.
Summer children, that's a joke for next show.
Yeah,
I mean, red mage could be a healer as well. But we're talking that if it was a DPS.
All right. Well, we have run out of time, guys. I know that this is a very interesting discussion and that everyone has opinions about what job they want to see next in 4.0. But again, it's all spec. We know. Nika, we know. We know. Anyway, we could keep going on this all night, but we got to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for joining us here at Limit Break Radio. If you haven't yet, make sure that you go and subscribe to the podcast. LimitBreakRadio.com is where that's located. Hit the follow button. Join us every Sunday. We're here live each and every single Sunday with Limit Break Radio. Join us at 1 p.m. live here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Coming up next over at our sister channel, which is twitch.tv/Final Encountercast, we're going to have a big old discussion. We're going to keep the spoiler train going. We're going to have a big old discussion about Game of Thrones. So if you're a Game of Thrones fan or a Song of Fire and Ice fan, then make sure that you join us over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast or finalencountercast.com if you can't join us live today.
I think you misspoke about Pokemon Go.
That's going to be it for Limit Break Radio. I want to thank my crew. We've got Papa Woody hanging out and, of course, Kooky Persona manning the phone lines. Thank you to Nika, Juxta, and Ascalia. I'm Aniro. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Aniro Grigori and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Captain Failboat, Zurian Urexin, Azura Giacho, Bianca Forwin, Kalina Ashsaber, Thor Carson, My Waifu, Satori Komeji, Darbykins, Sakura-chan, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.